non-Arab communities in and around Al-Fasher, which bore hallmarks of genocide. The mission assessed the mass killings and related atrocities committed by the paramilitary group during its October takeover of North Darfur's capital. Showan Bryce Peace reports from New York.
The fact-finding mission has issued a report to the UN Human Rights Council titled Hallmarks of Genocide in Al-Fasher, finding acts that included the killing of members of a protected ethnic group, causing serious bodily and mental harm, and deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the group's physical destruction in whole or in part. All three acts are regarded as core elements of the crime of genocide under international law. The targeted groups include the Zahagwa and Fur communities. The mission's report found that genocidal intent was the only reasonable inference that could be drawn from the RSF's systematic pattern of ethnic targeted killings, sexual violence, and public statements.
Recapping the top story, cross-examination of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner General Shedrick Sibiya will continue at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. For SAFM News, I'm Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, cricket action, Zimbabwe have stunned Sri Lanka to finish top of Group B at the ICC T20 World Cup. And we also bring news of soccer. Amazulu head coach Arthur Zwane insists his side will approach their Nedbank Cup against Richards Bay with full intensity. We'll have the details around 6:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Still very slow on the run between Ashburton and Pietermaritzburg. Two stationary trucks are still with us on that section, in the roadworks as well. So the enormity of last night's big queues from Camperdown through to Pietermaritzburg have eased, but it's just the sort of back end of those queues that are still running into the stationary truck. In fact, there's only one stationary truck, but that's enough still to cause a slowdown as you approach Market Road. Just in KZN down to Durban, no traffic lights on the Edwin Swales M7 and South Coast Road Junction. That's bound to be busy. Joburg off to a pretty decent start today. There's a breakdown coming through Midrand on the N1 South, stationary vehicle at the Buccleuch interchange. If you're driving around Pretoria's N4, there's also a stationary vehicle just after Watermeyer Street to watch for. At Cape Town, just getting a bit busy on the N2 inbound with traffic volumes increasing and slowing down between Khayelitsha and Borchards Quarry. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It has just gone 8 minutes after 6. Today is Friday, the 20th of February, 2026. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. It is your essential guide to navigating the day ahead in a world that never really stands still. Every weekday, we try and cut through the noise, connect the dots, and bring you the voices that are shaping the country, the continent, and the globe. We're talking everything here, from high-stakes diplomacy and regional political shifts to the economic pressures hitting home and the human stories unfolding in our communities. We try and help you to make sense of it all before your day truly begins. And among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours, trapped underground in Kimberley, 3 days after a devastating mud rush at the Ekapa Minerals joint shaft in Kimberley in the Northern Cape, 5 mine workers remain trapped nearly 890 meters underground, and families are clinging to hope with no communication yet restored with the trapped miners. The Minerals and Petroleum Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, is scheduled to visit the site this morning for an oversight visit as emergency teams continue what we are told is aggressive pumping operations to try and lower water levels and clear the debris into that area and that shaft. So all of this happening while unions in the sector continue to air their voices and their concerns about the situation. For example, the National Union of Mine Workers saying that its immediate priority is the rescue that's ongoing, but it is also demanding a full and transparent investigation into what went wrong and whether safety protocols were compromised. So what we will do is at 7:20, we'll speak to Thulasizwe Simelane, who is the Kimberley Regional Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers, to try and get the very latest on the rescue efforts, what workers on the ground are saying, and what accountability may look like once this crisis has passed. So that conversation coming up at about 7:20. But before we get to that, we'll be talking to the ANC's National Executive Committee member, Phoebe Potgieter. And the reason we're talking to her is that the country's latest quarterly labor force survey shows a 0.5 percentage point decline in the official unemployment rate, a modest shift, but one that the ANC says signals economic stabilization efforts are beginning to bear fruit. The party credits infrastructure investment, improved energy reliability, and targeted employment programs for youth and women as key drivers behind the change. But unemployment, you and I know that unemployment remains unacceptably high, and youth joblessness continues to pose a structural threat to economic and social stability. So at 7:10, thereabouts, we'll be joined by Phoebe Potgieter, the ANC National Executive Committee member, to unpack what the ANC believes is working, where the pressure points remain, and how sustainable this trajectory that they are seeing really is. So that conversation coming up at about 7:10. Lastly, we'll touch on news developing just across the border, across the Limpopo in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's 2030 question now coming to the fore, in a rather more pronounced manner. Zimbabwe's cabinet has approved draft legislation that could fundamentally reshape the country's political landscape, including extending presidential terms to 7 years, so from 5 years to 7 years, and shifting the election of the head of state from direct popular vote to parliament, so parliament being the ones to elect a president. Critics say the proposals could pave the way for that country's president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, to remain in office until at least 2030, despite constitutional term limits requiring him to step down in 2028. The governing ZANU-PF party's 2/3 parliamentary majority means that the numbers are there to try and pass this. But legal experts argue that such sweeping changes may require a national referendum. So we'll speak to Professor Evaristo Peñera from the Department of Political Science at UNISA about the constitutional implications, the regional political consequences, and whether this signals a broader trend of incumbency entrenched on the continent. That conversation coming up at about 7:10 this morning. Morning brief team, to your stations please for the takeoff once again this morning. And Musa has your half-hourly news update across the 3 hours. Zaikan is watching all things sport for you, including all the action on and off the field. Rob Byrne keeping his eyes trained on the country's highways and byways and reporting to you every 20 minutes or so about any snarl-ups that you may encounter on your route. Melissa Buta completing your picture with the morning brief in brief, and that is coming up shortly. Tauleng Lechela always watching the economy, business, and the markets across the 3 hours. And of course, Sipho Mantula. Today is a Friday, by the way, and so Sipho Mantula has the extended version of the Africa Update, including his historical archive, and that is coming up at about 7:20 this morning. Your calls complete the conversation. Do call me across the 3 hours. The numbers to dial 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. All right, this is the morning brief where we try to not just report the headlines, we try and help you to understand the story behind them. Let's get into it. The first hour starts now.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Akudlalwa kudlalwa ngempela. Amakhosi collides with ezimnyama ngenkani. Soweto will roar. Mzansi will feel it. Only one will rise. Every tackle, every pass, every goal could define the season. This is the Betway Premiership. Lisakazini forever. Catch the Soweto Derby. Kaizer Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 28 February at 2 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
Let's kick it off with Melissa Puta, as we always do around this time, with the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Let's start with news coming out of the city of Johannesburg and the plight of informal traders. Tell me why they are marching to the mayor's office today.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So informal traders in Johannesburg CBD marched to Mayor Dada Morero's offices in Braamfontein to protest alleged harassment and unfair treatment by city officials, primarily over the denial of essential trading permits and smart cards. Traders reported confiscation of stock and fines, leaving them unable to earn a livelihood. Morero acknowledged the large number of permit applications, over 2,800, but noted that only 160 traders had been fully registered so far. The city maintains that enforcement of bylaws was necessary for order, cleanliness, safety, and economic stability. Morero also said the city has yet to receive a verified list of affected traders, but assured that those pending permits would be contacted as the verification and smart card rollout continues.
So a long-standing grievance of the labor movement in the Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality is finally being resolved. The issues about those salary increases from a couple of years ago.
Yes, so the Tshwane municipality has agreed with trade unions to pay 1 billion rand in backdated salaries owed to workers stemming from a 2022 dispute over a 3.5% salary increase that was previously withheld due to financial constraints. Mayor Nasipi Moya confirmed that payments will be made over 3 years, prioritizing the lowest earners, with departing employees receiving their back pay on exit. Opposition figures, including former finance MMC Jacques Eus, warned that the payments could impact service delivery by diverting funds from essential positions such as electricians and plumbers, despite the city's assurances that finances remain stable. So this is one that I think we should watch closely and see how this rollout takes shape.
And this incident that has left many South Africans really shocked out of the school in Coronationville, Bernard Isaacs Primary School, and the death of this child in truly horrific circumstances. It's now being investigated, isn't it?
Yes. So the Gauteng Department of Education has appointed the independent law firm Thulasizwe Incorporated to investigate the death of grade R pupil Mangoba Mnisi at Bernard Isaacs Primary School in Coronationville in Johannesburg. Mnisi died on the 2nd of February after allegedly becoming trapped while attempting to climb out of a classroom window. Gauteng Education MEC Madome Chelwane introduced the firm to Mnisi's family, the school's management team, and the school governing body. The 2-week investigation will examine the circumstances of the incident, consult with the staff, pupils, parents, security, and community members, and it will also assess compliance with education and child protection laws, including South African Schools Act and the Employment of Educators Act and the Children's Act. Chilwane emphasized the department's commitment to uncovering the truth and acting decisively on the firm's findings and recommendations. So this is another one to watch and see how it develops after 2 weeks.
Yeah, truly tragic. Thank you for that. That's Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in Brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, the weather for Pretoria, Johannesburg, Vereeniging, Mbombela and Polokwane will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers. So for all of those cities that I mentioned. The temperatures: Pretoria 18 to 30, Johannesburg 17 to 27, Vereeniging 16 to 30, Mbombela 19 to 30 and Polokwane 18 to 31. In Mahikeng, it will be fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers 19 to 30. In Freiburg, fine, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon with isolated afternoon thunder showers 19 to 29. Bloemfontein, same conditions, fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers 19 to 30. Kimberley will be fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers 21 to 31. Uppington will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers 24 to 34. Cape Town will be fine, 20 to 31. George will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy from the evening 18 to 28. Gqeberha, cloudy 19 to 25. Gugompo City, formerly East London, cloudy with showers and rain 19 to 27. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated evening thunder showers 21 to 29. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers 23 to 34. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers 15 to 33.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Center for Social Justice at Stellenbosch University, invites you to attend the 7th Annual Social Justice Lecture in commemoration of the World Day of Social Justice on the 20th of February 2026. The 2026 Social Justice Lecture will be delivered by the Right Honourable Baroness Valerie Amos, LGCHPC, Master of University College Oxford, and former Director of SOAS, the University of London, under the theme Illusions of Stability, delivering social justice in a period of polarization and global instability. The lecture will take place at the Baxter Theatre in Rondebosch, Cape Town from 5 p.m. Get your free tickets from Quicket. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
It's gone 22 minutes after 6. The former South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol has been sentenced to life in prison for masterminding what a Seoul court described as an insurrection aimed at imposing military rule. The ruling marks one of the most dramatic falls from power in South Korea's democratic history, following Yoon's brief but shocking declaration of martial law on the 3rd of December 2024. Prosecutors had sought the death penalty, but the court opted for life imprisonment, citing the grave damage done to the country's constitutional order. Let's speak to Professor David Munyai. He is the director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Good morning to you, Prof, and thank you for your time. So the former president escapes the death penalty, but a sentence of life imprisonment still, in a way, signaling the seriousness of what he had been charged with. What are the implications for South Korea's democracy? We know how contentious this whole period has been.
Oh, there are huge implications. And I think there are quite a number of other senior officials who were also found guilty. So I think this sends clear message that the military remains, firstly, I think, firmly under civilian control. I think that in itself has been demonstrated by the judiciary. Parliament also can neutralize the unconstitutional executive actions. In this case, it lasted only for 6 hours, sending a clear message in terms of division of power, strengthening the judiciary and civil society, the demonstrations. So I think what it does is strengthen South Korea's rule of law. It also brings the executive into order. I think we've seen a number of misbehavior by the executive, whether it's United States, in a number of countries. Others, they just go free. But in this case, I think we see democracy really taking hold of the top head of state.
Yeah, I allude to how contentious it was, and I'm wondering what the implications are for the body politic of South Korea, given that at the time when, well, in the early stages of all of this, he wasn't someone without support, was the former president, as his troubles really started and Parliament was debating it and the whole impeachment process and then the trial. Where does that leave South Korean politics? The fact that he's been sentenced in this way, but we know that he had a level of support.
I think what it does, it undermines the rise of populism, something that we see in so many other countries. It's so easy to just garner support based on make this first or any issue without really following the constitution. It also weakens those who thought they could use the military to undermine fellow opposition. Because what was happening was that other oppositions were being locked into prisons and limit the room for democratic activities, demonstrations, and that in itself has been pushed back. I think rebalancing of South Korea politics and hopefully the reforms will continue in a manner that brings law and order and democracy in the end.
And I think you've made the point in the past, Prof, about South Korea's history and this whole question of military rule and why they are so averse to it. But just remind us why any sense or, any hint of harking back to a period of military rule that was read by the opposition in particular into the actions of the then president in trying to declare martial law, why there was such a forceful pushback to it.
South Koreans have bad experience, like so many other Asian people, whether in Indonesia and others. During the Cold War, you had the military really pushing back any democratic movements. And the number of people were killed in the 50s and 60s. You had notorious, the military dictated politics in South Korea more than most Asian countries, and therefore that bad experience was brought to a stop, a halt more in the 80s, and therefore it appears that with the sense of what had happened, that reminded people of the bad old days.
And do these recent developments of the past year to 2 years have any regional implications? Part of the justification for why the then president had tried to impose martial law was that he said he needed to protect the country from those he was describing as quote-unquote anti-state forces that he said were allegedly sympathetic to North Korea. So much has happened since that moment, the changes that have happened. What are the implications at a regional level?
At the regional, I think it might encourage South and North Korea conversations, dialogue, easing the pressure and tension between these people. It's one people anyway. They have had huge differences since the end of Cold War, and beyond South Korea, I think there were also discussions with Japan. A good relationship with China. It also sent a clear message and the power of the people, particularly in Japan, with this rise of populism that is taking hold on militarism issues, which sends a shockwave in the entire region. So I think what it does is it strengthens democracy and issues of development and peace in the region.
And there's a history of presidents being prosecuted. There was one not so long ago, a previous president. What are our expectations about the follow through on the life sentence that is imposed? Is there a history of I don't know, pardons being granted to presidents, former presidents
Well,
rather?
there might be. I think he is the third. There were other two before him where it was more of corruption. So this one is quite unique. It had more to do with the rule of law, the constitution. However, I think they'll stay in prison. There are talks of the previous ones being pardoned, but I mean they have to demonstrate having saved in prison like any ordinary people. But in South Korea, it goes beyond politicians. I mean, it also goes to the business community. Some of the major rich people, big companies, the head of the company are in prison because of corruption and certain way of handling the law. And I think that just strengthened the power of the constitution in South Korea.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time once again this morning. Professor David Munyai, Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Let's go straight to Ann Musa on standby with latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the search for a gun continued last night at the residence of the son of the former Zimbabwean president, Robert Mugabe, in Hyde Park, Johannesburg. This after yesterday's shooting incident, a gardener was shot at the premises. He is in a critical condition in hospital. Cross-examination of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner General Shedrick Sibiya will continue at the Matlanga Commission in Pretoria this morning, and the community of Kimberley held a candlelight prayer outside the Kappa mine last night to support the families of the 5 mine workers still trapped underground. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good morning. Pat from Mpumalanga has just been in touch saying, Rob, please just issue a reminder about the roadworks on Schoemanskloof. There's about 3 sets of stop-go controls out on that section of Mpumalanga's N4. If you don't fancy 20 minutes at each of those, which can very easily get up to an hour, just take the tunnel section, the Elands Valley section, linking you between Machadodorp and Montrose, take the bottom section and avoid Schoemanskloof. Thanks very much for that, Pat. Appreciate the input there. Joburg, here's a surprise again. The Mike 1 North roadworks going up in towards Greyston Drive. So very slow through Melrose on your way to Stanton. We'll watch that and could potentially get a lot worse. Major delays overnight going up to Pietermaritzburg. Thankfully, it's all been cleared up. We had a couple of stationary trucks which were stuck in the roadworks between Ashburton and Market Road, which really just took forever, made it forever for that enormous backlog following yesterday's tanker crash to clear through. But it's all got through and looking a lot better now, which is good. If you've left your trip out of Durban to Pietermaritzburg until now, it's a good time to go. M7, South Coast Road, traffic lights not working there. That'll be busy on and off the bluff and in and out of the harbour area. And Cape Town, 2 crash scenes on the N2 this Friday morning, both coming in from Khayelitsha. One before the R300 and one after the R300 towards Borchards Quarry. So N2 under a bit of pressure from as far back as Spine Road. Also, just off the highway, north of that, a collision on Meway and Old Fora Road causing some extra delays as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So a major upset at the T20 World Cup, yeah? Zimbabwe versus Sri Lanka, and the outcome?
Oh, wow. Yes, Thulas. What is the outcome? It was a major upset for some, but I think for Zimbabwe, that's the belief they have. And I think our neighbors are cooking something. And well, good news for them. And I think a lot of Zimbabweans are waking up smiling this morning. What a win for their team at the ICC World Cup. A fairy tale run, in fact, at the ICC T20 World Cup. They beat Sri Lanka by 6 wickets in Colombo to finish the group stage unbeaten, chasing 179 at the R. Premadasa Stadium. Zimbabwe got home with 3 balls to spare. Captain Sikandar Raza turned the match in 1 over, smashing 20 runs off leg spinner Dushan Hemantha and added 69 of 40 balls, with Brian Bennett, who anchored the chase with an unbeaten 63. Ranked 11th in the world, Zimbabwe now head into the Super 8 stage unbeaten. Let's bring it back home to soccer news. AmaZulu head coach Arthur Zwane insists his side will approach their Nedbank Cup last 16 clash against Richards Bay with full intensity when the two KwaZulu-Natal rivals meet this evening at 7 p.m.
Akekho ocabanga ukuthi mangingatholi point mangingatholi 3 points yabo, so lokho nje kuchaza ukuthi ebadlaleni kumele ebadlaleni bonke abazoba sefieldini uzomela bazinikele ngokonke ukuthi masithola ichance yokuthi siwine game kumele siwine. Akunakuthi sizo hold back or sime or senzeni, kumele nje sidlale sibone ukuthi igame isinikezana ngoba ngeke kube lula ngempela ngoba sidlala neteam egude kakhulu.
Meanwhile, Real Madrid have submitted evidence to UEFA supporting Vinicius Jr.'s allegations of racial abuse during their Champions League clash against Benfica. The match was halted for 11 minutes after Vinicius accused Gianluca Prestiani of using a racial slur. Prestiani denies the allegation. UEFA have appointed an ethics and disciplinary inspector to investigate. The second leg takes place next Wednesday at the Bernabeu. Rugby, Duhan van der Merwe returns to Scotland's starting lineup for tomorrow's Six Nations clash against Wales in Cardiff. He's one of 5 changes made by coach Gregor Townsend as Scotland look to build momentum after beating England. And finally, golf. Spain's Pablo Herrero leads the Johnson Workwear Durban Open after 10 under par 62 at the Durban Country Club. He produced 6 birdies and an eagle in an 8-hole stretch, his lowest tournament round. South Africa's Kieran van Wyk is 1 shot back on 63. That's your sport. We'll tee it off again top of the hour. I'm Sai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Dowling, good morning to you. Let's start with news, company news. Tell me about Walmart and their earnings. They're saying that they've far exceeded what the analysts had expected, yeah?
Morning, Thulas. Now, the latest numbers out of Walmart provide insight into U.S. consumer habits, with economists divided on their resilience. Now, over the holiday quarter, Walmart sales rose nearly 6%, boosted by e-commerce, advertising, and its third-party marketplace. Comparable store sales climbed 4.6% in the U.S., with digital sales up 27%, marking the retailer's 15th straight quarter of double-digit online growth. Company CFO John David Rainey said speedy store-fulfilled deliveries are attracting higher-income shoppers, particularly in categories like fashion, while spending among lower-income households remains more constrained, highlighting what some economists call a K-shaped economy. Looking ahead, Walmart is cautiously optimistic. Rainey noted that inflation and tariffs appear to be easing and a more normal pricing environment is taking hold. Now, these results suggest consumers are continuing to spend, but growth is uneven across income groups.
And in other company news, streamlining efforts well underway at Nestle.
That's right, Thulas. Nestle entering advanced talks to sell its remaining ice cream operations in Asia, Canada, and parts of Latin America to Fornero, the joint venture it co-owns with Pi Partners. Now, the company plans to focus on coffee, pet care, nutrition, and food and snacks as part of a leaner, more performance-driven strategy. Now, this announcement comes alongside its fourth quarter earnings, where it reported organic sales growth of 4%, led by price increases and volume gains, and it expects full-year growth of 3 to 4%. The firm has acknowledged challenges, including a major baby formula recall, pressures from U.S. tariffs and foreign exchange, but said the steps being taken to position the company for sustainable growth and stronger margins going forward.
Lastly, Dowling, recap for us how we closed yesterday and how we are starting this Friday.
Kicking things off in the States, US markets back in the red with investors monitoring simmering tensions between the US and Iran. Concerns about the Fed's policy path also weighing on trade overnight. The Dow Jones leading the losses, they're shedding 0.5% by the close. The mood was similar back home with equities in the red, resources taking the biggest hit due to easing precious metals prices. The Resi down 0.8%, resulting in a 0.5% decline in the ore share. The Rand also taking a hit this morning, trading weaker against most of its global peers, global currency pairs, that is. It's sitting at 16.16 to the dollar, 21.73 to the pound, and 19.01 to the euro. In commodities, oil making gains and trading at $70 a barrel. Now, this could be, of course, bad news for consumers if it holds, as it could translate into fuel price increases. Now, the gains in oil comes as investors continue to assess those geopolitical tensions, particularly between the US and Iran, as we've seen heightened military activity in the region. And then lastly, in Asia, traders are digesting Japan's latest inflation reading, with prices there cooling in January.
All right, and Dowling, thank you for that. That's the first update from Dowling. She'll be back with more insights for you just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Of course, today is a Friday, so we have the elongated and extended version of the Africa Update with Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. So it was a no for President Chapo's Mozambique and a yes for Niger from the IMF.
Refreshing morning to us and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, the General Cheney has able to get some money from IMF, almost $91 million to us for funding on issues of climate resilience and sustainable development. They have also forecast that Niger's economic growth is expected to grow by 6.7% in 2026. You will recall that General Cheney, since has been in power through a military coup in 2023, Thulas has been asserting what people call a greater economic sovereignty. Despite that, there are what you will call critical times at government. How do you deal with public finances? How do you reassure investors in the Sahel region? But he has managed, and you'll recall that Niger has also what we call uranium tools. That is bringing IMF closer to the Sahel.
Let's talk, while you're talking about uranium, let's talk critical minerals. I see Malawi has a deal with the United States.
The word critical minerals also very problematic when we think in Africa we call them natural resources, but the US lingo or the vocab is on calling strategic minerals for what we know Thulas is to pursue their own interests. Others are saying after the mining endeavor in Cape Town, Lilongwe might have entered on something that they don't know. Others are saying what lingers is, will it be transparent? Will it benefit Malawians for a long term? Is it a national benefit for the state, or is it only for the U.S.? And here, Thulas, we are looking at what Malawi is producing. As you know, that Malawi has got minerals also that the U.S. is interested in. And those are the minerals that are also strategic for the U.S. military when one thinks of, when you talk about DRC. So they're talking about critical minerals that they've entered in Cape Town, but will it benefit the people in Kasai, in the Lilongwe district? The issue of land compensation, how they will deal with it, because once mining go in, it pushes everybody out. And we don't know whether President Mutharika, will he be able to deal with the crisis of this critical mineral.
Yeah. And the Geneva Human Rights Conference heard from the opposition leader in Uganda, one Bobi Wine.
Bobi Wine is lamenting to us after the presidential elections in January last month. He said that his wife has left Uganda, but he did not say where did he go to. And that's where you will understand that Bobi Wine has been under siege. Nobody is aware where is Bobi Wine, whether he's in Kenya, whether he's in the DRC, all those neighboring countries around Uganda. Nobody knows. But he says that his wife and children have left the country for safety. He did not mention where they've been to last. And this has been also a confrontation between the son of Museveni, Muhusi, as well as Bobi Wine. That has been going on the Twitter streets. But Bobi Wine says his family is safe to us. They've left Kampala due to these challenges. And as you have said, he has addressed the Geneva Human Rights Conference. We saw the AU passed, but nothing on Uganda that was touched. And we hope even the East Africa community will have to deal with this crisis of post-Ugandan elections.
Let's stay in the Great Lakes then. Tell me about the fighting in the eastern DRC. This comes, of course, against the backdrop of all these peace efforts, but it would seem that peace, that truce has not held.
It is not holding because the ceasefire was expected to take effect this week, actually 2 days ago. Lorenzo, you'll recall, he called all leaders to Angola last week to say, let's engage. But there have been clashes in the eastern part, also in the South Kivu, particularly in Luvungi and the Bikenge areas, where there have been clashes between M23 and the government. Despite that, the EU has put more than $96 million to us on humanitarian aid to assist that crisis. We know there's been a Doha process, there was a Washington process on dealing with the crisis in the eastern DRC, but it seems that things are not coming forth. And that will be a challenge also to us for the SADC chairpersonship of South Africa. How do we deal with the crisis in the eastern DRC? Do we leave only to the international community to be dealt by the U.S. under the pretext of critical minerals and piecemeal or peace deal? Also, do we leave it to the Doha process when actually to us we have the AU as well as the SADC intervention that has tried to assist the DRC, but the ceasefire, it seems, it is not holding to us.
Lastly then, Sipho, open your historical archives for us to 2 dates, the 20th of February 1925 and also the 21st of February 1924.
Tulas, both of them were born on this day. I'm looking from Cape Town to Zimbabwe. We are talking of a political activist, a short story writer, a novelist, Justin Alexandra Laguma, who was born on this day in District 6 in Cape Town. You'll recall his father, Tulas Jimmy Laguma, was a Cuban descent. Laguma, Tulas, was involved in the politics of the ANC, went exiled to England, and like I said, he also returned to his father's country, Cuba, and he only died in 1985. Tomorrow, he's on the news, his son, Tulas, even if he's late, Mugabe. It is his day tomorrow. You'll recall that 21 February was known as Robert Mugabe's day. He will have been 102 years old. He was born in Kutama, Zwimbi district in Zimbabwe. You will recall the era of Robert Mugabe Tulas from the late 60s, 1975, going exile, becoming a prime minister in 1980, emerging with ZAPU and ZANU to form ZANU-PF in 1987. 1994, also those eras of Robert Mugabe. 2008, the lost presidential elections, and others have said he has ruled Zimbabwe from 1987 to 2017. One thing we miss about Mugabe, Tulas, you'll recall, is when he goes to the UN General Assembly, how he used to shake those walls of the UN General Assembly, as well as the AU and SADC meetings. A highly intellectual and scholarly person, if you think of Robert Gabriel Mugabe, which is his day tomorrow, despite what his son is going through. And it's his Grace, our own, who has been and who was born here and is in Zimbabwe. He can't come, by the way, his Grace Tulas, to come and rescue his son who's having challenges. Asante sana Tulas, as we are still leading the conversation. I can see Tulas, the UNISA is dominating the airwaves now. You are going to have my friend Evaristo Benyere.
He's up next, actually. Speaking of him.
With the constitutional number 3 bill that we've been struggling with on this show, but let's hope he will sanitize that constitutional bill number 3.
Super, thank you for that. That's Super Mantula with the Africa update. Of course, he foregrounds the next conversation that we will have with Professor Evaristo Peñera, also from UNISA, the Department of Political Sciences, and we'll be talking about the mooted constitutional changes out in Zimbabwe. That's coming up in the next few minutes.
Catch the season premiere of Color Your Plate this Sunday evening at 7 as 4 hungry home cooks step into the kitchen to reimagine beloved family favorites in bold and unexpected ways. With the return of a steering from a previous season judging their every move, only one will earn the chance to progress and cook alongside them in the next round. Who will impress and take the first step forward? Find out on Color Your Plate, Sundays at 7 p.m, repeat Saturdays at 4:30, only on SABC2.
Using Scholar Transport comes with responsibilities. Every learner has a role to play in keeping themselves, their friends, and the driver safe. Stay seated and behave responsibly. Avoid shouting, pushing, standing, or moving around inside the vehicle at any time. Think safety first. Remember that safety starts before the journey begins and continues until you are safely off the road. Good behavior saves lives. Your actions matter. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
The Blues are going all out for maximum points at Stamford Bridge.
Stevaus flipped it back to him. The Brazilian connection working nicely. João Pedro for 2, and he's done it. The Blues Brazilians at the double here.
However, it is a must-win game for the Clarets to try to escape from the danger zone.
Deflected and in! Oh, Burnley lead! Shock lead for the Clarets. Bashir Humphries will claim it. It's got a deflection, and Burnley have got an early lead here.
This is the Premier League. Chelsea FC versus Burnley FC, the Saturday 21 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Crash coming out of Pretoria on your way to the airport this morning. It's happened just between the Bobsfontein and the Benoni exit. It's quite a big volume of traffic, so quite a heavy queue building into that one. Roadworks going up to Greyston Drive on the Mike 1 were overrunning earlier this morning. It looks like they may have been lifted. There is a bit of a delay between Houghton and Sandton, but it is, if anything, on my services that we monitor, starting to get easier. So we'll keep an eye on that. A heads up, but it seems to be okay. N17 out of Boksburg, Springs and Brackpan on your way through to Joburg. Roadworks approaching Gothforth Plaza coming through from Wadeville. Very slow there. The big backlog that we had overnight and earlier this morning, getting up from Ashburton into Pietermaritzburg's all cleared. The last of the breakdowns, which were sort of preventing that big backlog from moving off freely, have been cleared. So, in fact, between Camperdown, Linfield Park and Pietermaritzburg, looks okay. M13 joining from Hillcrest, bit slow down towards Maytime this morning. And Cape Town, a crash on the N2 into town on the N2 just before R300. So, very slow from Spine Road in front of Khayelitsha. And traffic lights are down again today, Westbank Main and Stellenbosch Arterial. So if you're moving between sort of Van Riebeeck Road and the R300 using that section of Stellenbosch Arterial, it's busy both ways. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one, get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand. When you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Spect and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
The Proteas women are pumped up to display top-class cricket and emphasize that they are unbreakable. However, the women in green are confident their presence will be felt. This is the one-day international encounter. Witness the first ODI between South Africa and Pakistan on Sunday 22 February at 9:30 a.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC3 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
7 minutes to 7. Zimbabwe's cabinet has approved draft legislation that could extend the rule of President Emmerson Mnangagwa until at least 2030. The draft bill presented to cabinet and backed this week proposes sweeping constitutional changes. These include extending presidential terms to 7 years, limiting presidents to 2 such terms, and allowing parliament rather than voters directly to elect the head of state. It would also increase the Senate's size by enabling the president to appoint 10 additional senators, bringing the upper chamber to 90 seats. Let's speak to Professor Evaristo Peñera, Professor of African Politics at the University of South Africa. Good morning to you, Prof. Thank you for your time. What do you make of these changes? Are these changes that were needed to enhance the democracy and functioning of the democracy, constitutional democracy in Zimbabwe, or is there more at play in these changes? Is it more about managing the transition and also succession issues?
Good morning to us and good morning to the listeners of SAFM, and thank you very much for having me. This is happening at a time when there is heightened successional battles, and one way of doing this political transition from the post-Robert Mugabe era to a new political dispensation is to judicialize the politics of Zimbabwe. And in most cases, the only way to do it is to have an amendment of the existing laws. In this case, it is the constitution. Unfortunately, they are doing it the wrong way, because Section 328 actually stipulates how the constitution must be amended. The amendment of the constitution must be done with a supermajority, not just a mere majority. And they are going to parliament, which itself is a creature of and subordinate to the constitution. So we are going to see a lot of challenges to this move by the current regime.
This is a drastic set of amendments, isn't it? I mean, this whole idea, for instance, of Parliament being the people who elect the president, I suppose, in an electoral college versus direct election of a president, which is what some in South Africa are clamoring for. Why are these changes happening now with a relatively new constitution?
It is very shocking because President Emmerson Mnangagwa was involved in the crafting of this new constitution, which is being changed under him as the first incumbent. One of the background developments is that there have been discussions within ZANU-PF whether the president himself is in support of this move. There were pronouncements by Patrick Chinamasa, who is the head of legal affairs within ZANU-PF, that the president says he is a constitutionalist. Many people can read different things into that, but what it means is that the president does not want to be seen as the first one to dismantle the constitution that he helped to build. It is a drastic move. It is a drastic shock to the very foundations of Zimbabwe's constitutionalism. Let's remind ourselves, Thulasizwe, what is the purpose of a constitution? The purpose of a constitution is to withdraw certain subjects from the vicissitudes of political controversy, to place them beyond the reach of majorities and officials, and to place them as legal principles to be applied by courts. In other words, if a change is to occur to a constitution, it should only happen after mature reflection and debate, and with the support of a large majority rather than a simple majority of the electorate. In this case, such changes must be subjected to a referendum. We are not seeing the supermajority coming into play, but not even a large majority, but representation of a majority. So there are a lot of legal and constitutional misalignments with the move by the government. The changes are huge. Electing a president via parliament, as in South Africa, not directly, when other countries want to go the opposite direction, is actually shocking and really concerning.
So what's your sense of how it will unfold? You rightly outlined that there's the one element of ZANU-PF having that two-thirds majority in the lower house of parliament and dominating the Senate as well. but there's also the issue of the relative weakness of opposition politics at the moment. How do you see it unfolding in that context?
There will be a lot of escalations of intra-party conflicts and contestations within ZANU-PF, because we should not take it for granted that the whole of ZANU-PF are in support of this move. No, we are going to see a lot of heightened succession debate. We are going to see a lot of background regime consolidation. We are going to see escalation of intra-party political conflicts, and most of the people are fearing a legitimacy shock to the system when we move from directly electing a president. And some people are interpreting this as a candidate who is afraid of losing for the first time to whoever comes in, because right now the challenge facing ZANU-PF is that there is no credible opposition that they are facing, and they are just afraid of the unknown. Finally, Thulasi, the judicialization of politics, not only in Zimbabwe, but in Africa and even in South Africa, that internal ZANU-PF, internal ANC issues end up with the courts. And in most cases, when politics meets the law, politics will always win, because theoretically, while politics is subjugated to the law itself is a creature of politics, and this comes in as a huge concern to those that are constitutionalists, because at the end of the day, politics will always win.
Yeah, Prof, I was saying off air and offline very quickly that it's so surreal for me, because I was still the SABC correspondent in Zimbabwe when this constitution was being crafted, and I've been saying that it's the one constitution whose birth I actually witnessed. And this very point about how many terms and how long a president should serve, I remember hearing villagers lining up to come to the microphone and express themselves. I remember very clearly and vividly those expressions of 2 terms of 5 years, 2 terms of 5 years, person after person after person, and how quickly that has changed in the life of the new constitution. We've got to leave it there. Thank you for your time, Professor Evaristo Benyera, Professor of African Politics. Let's go to Ann Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, the Muslim Judicial Council condemns fatal shooting incident and Sibiya faces more grilling at Matlanga Commission. Good morning. The Muslim Judicial Council has condemned the fatal shooting of a Cape Town religious leader in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police say the 33-year-old Mulana had just left a mosque when he was approached and shot by unknown suspects. 2 other men were also wounded and have been taken to hospital. The motive for the attack remains unclear and no arrests have been made as yet. The MJC has called for a swift and thorough investigation. The spokesperson, Sheikh Riyad Fattar.
The Muslim Judicial Council, the Muslim community, the community in general, we are shocked. We are grieved by the fatal shooting of Maulana Mustaqim Wanza and the shooting and injury of Maulana Junaid Souls. After the Tarawih Salah, they are on their way home from the masjid, and this heinous act was committed. There is no respect shown to the month of Ramadan, no respect for coming from a sacred space.
The house of the son of the late Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is under police lockdown this morning. This follows a shooting incident yesterday. A gardener was allegedly shot on the property. Mugabe's son and another man have been arrested and charged with attempted murder. Late yesterday, police were still searching for the gun used in the shooting. Police divers were also brought onto the premises. Tabiso Khadebe is outside the property in Hyde Park.
A police nyala and a police vehicle are stationed at the gate of the Hyde Park property north of Johannesburg. Officers have secured the entrance with a barrier tape across the gate last night. It remains a mystery how the firearm allegedly used in the incident disappeared. Witnesses say they saw 2 vehicles leaving the premises after the shooting. The 23-year-old employee who works as a gardener at Mugabe's Junior's house is in critical condition in hospital after being shot in the back.
Cross-examination of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner General Shadrack Sibiya will continue at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. Sibiya was grilled on his role and conduct in the disbandment of the political Killing Stars team yesterday. The PKTT was disbanded in December 2024 by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Sibahle Mota reports.
General Sibiya has testified that both National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola and PKTT project leader General Dumsani Khumalo did not indicate that they did not support the PKTT disbandment. This is despite testimony from Generals Masemola and Khumalo stating that the dissolution of the PKTT caught them by surprise. The PKTT disbandment, which has been deemed as unlawful, is at the center of corruption allegations at the Madlanga Commission. The commission is investigating allegations of political interference and the infiltration of alleged criminal syndicates in law enforcement agencies.
Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe will visit the Ikapa mine in Kimberley in the Northern Cape today. 5 mine workers remain trapped underground following a mudslide incident on Tuesday. Mining operations have been suspended as efforts to rescue the workers continue. The Minerals Council South Africa has sent 2 experts to the mine to help support management and affected families. Last night, community members held a candlelight prayer at the mine. Meanwhile, the wife of a trapped miner says the waiting has become unbearable. Priscilla Daman says all she wants is to see her husband brought to the surface.
I am devastated and heartbroken. Our waiting is driving me crazy. I feel like getting a panic attack because all you hear is they are still pumping water underground. I always hope to hear they are finally going to look for them, but then we have to understand the safety of the rescue team is also important. It's been 3 days and the hope you have declines each time, and then you hope for the best again. I just want them to find them. I just want my husband. I want to see him.
Recapping the top story, the Muslim Judicial Council has condemned the fatal shooting of a Cape Town religious leader in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
You could show your bank balance some love this month with awesome car insurance savings from Outsurance. Like 43-year-old Gloria, who saves an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer, Mamelodi Sundowns refused to slow down with their coach Miguel Cardoso confident his side can juggle fatigue and push for Nedbank Cup progress. And in cricket news, Aiden Markram is tipped as South Africa's X Factor at the T20 World Cup. Let's find out more at around 7:30.
SAFM. Good morning. Just confirming the roadworks.
The rush hour traffic.
So the Mike one that overran this morning between Corlett and Grayston seemed to have been lifted. That traffic flow into Sandton is getting easier. The N12 coming out of Benoni through Boksburg. Big traffic again, a breakdown near Atlas Road and some delays to continue through that towards about the Rondebolt Road off-ramp. Olifantsfontein, heavy from Blue Hills down towards a couple of faulty traffic lights around the N1 highway. R21 has a crash on your way to the airport just past the Buppersfontein Road, which is causing some delays as well. Camperdown, Linfield Park up to Pietermaritzburg, all clear. The last of the stationary trucks have been Ballina and Moo. M13 Hillcrest down to Kloof. That looks busy this morning. N2 North coming up from Durban's M7 highway through towards the roadworks at Westwood Mall. That's already backlogging. And Cape Town, no traffic lights. Stellenbosch Arterial at Westbank Main. That's just after the R300 junction. So if you're going to or from Kales River, that's all a bit slow. Heavy pressure in Stickland this morning. LaBelle to Strand and Strand both ways through Stickland to and from the R300 all backed up. And a crash N2 into town by the R300 causing a delay and slowness coming through from Khayelitsha. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief on this Friday. It is absolutely great to be in your company. We are hoping to get a lot done in this half hour. So let me very quickly tell you where we are going. We'll be speaking to Phoebe Potgieter, the ANC National Executive Committee member. The party is reacting to the latest quarterly labour force survey that was released by Stats South Africa, which shows a 0.5 percentage point decline in the country's official unemployment rate. And that conversation is coming up in the next few minutes. We also are scheduled to speak to Musipedi Sinane, who is the National Union of Mine Workers Kimberley Regional Secretary, and we are talking, of course, in the wake of those rescue efforts that continue to be underway at Ekapa Minerals joint shaft in Kimberley. We expect the Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, to visit that area. And of course, we also have a conversation scheduled about what the sugar industry is characterizing as a triple whammy of crises. One has to do with the imminent liquidation of Tongaat Hewlett. The other has to do with the surge in imported sugar, which they say is eroding the domestic market share. And of course, the third one being about the health promotion levy. That's a long-going cry, a long-standing cry of the sugar industry. We'll speak to Higgins Mdluli, chairperson of the SA Cane Growers. So that's where we're going in this half hour. The number to dial, 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes, 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the Morning Brief on this Friday starts now.
The Proteas women are pumped up to display top-class cricket and emphasize that they are unbreakable. However, the women in green are confident their presence will be felt. This is the one-day international encounter. Witness the first ODI between South Africa and Pakistan on Sunday, 22 February at 9:30 a.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC3 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Eskom is upgrading old electricity meters with modern smart meters, giving you clarity, control, and confidence. With your new meter, you'll be able to see your usage in real time, giving you the power to manage your electricity with ease. Smart meters are accurate and help Eskom respond faster to issues. Please allow their authorized installers access to install your new meter. For more information, visit the Eskom website. Eskom, redefining for a better future.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
11 minutes after 7, the African National Congress is welcoming the latest quarterly labour force survey released by Stats South Africa, which shows a 0.5 percentage point decline in the country's official unemployment rate. The ANC spokesperson Mahlengi Pengu describing the decrease as a quote-unquote measurable improvement and a sign that sustained government economic interventions are beginning to deliver tangible results. The ANC says the modest decline in unemployment reflects deliberate economic stabilization measures implemented by the government. Let's speak to Phoebe Potgieter, who is a member of the ANC's National Executive Committee. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Let me just out and out say it. You will face a lot of people who are saying that you are somewhat adopting a celebratory tone and it's just too soon to celebrate given what a low base we are coming from with these modest declines in unemployment. I thought, let me just start there, because I think many people will automatically go there when they hear you this morning.
Good morning. I think that the President, in his reply to the State of the Nation debate, indeed acknowledged that the levels of unemployment still remains a national crisis. He mentioned the figure of the 11 million people that's unemployed. So 0.5% decline is really not good enough. And this is why the range of measures that's been introduced, we need to make sure that we are consistent with them. So making sure that we keep addressing the energy situation to stabilize it, to increase energy production, that we do the interventions in struggling industries as DTIC is doing in steel and oil. And we'll also have to look at what's happening in the sugar industry as an example. And then to be able to move on the public employment creation. And if one look at the jobs, the sectors that have grown in 2025, it include government services. For example, the Education Assistance Program as part of the Presidential Youth Employment Scheme. So it's not just one thing, it's a whole range of different measures that we need to push on and push forward, because 0.5% is not good enough. I think that COSATU, in their statement commenting on the quarterly labor force survey, is that we now need to move towards at least reducing unemployment by 1 percentage point per year. And this is why growth is so important. And the President, again in SONA, referred to the infrastructure projects which provinces are beginning to move forward and push. And infrastructure is a major driver for growth. And we are looking forward to the budget next week, that there's a major emphasis of investment in infrastructure so that we're able to stimulate growth in the economy, and then also crowd in investment from the private sector. Just the last point is also the initiatives about investments in the SMME sector. Across the world, small, medium, and enterprises are major contributors towards job creation. And the investment that's beginning to flow into that sector is an important part of it. It's moving in the right direction, but we're far, far, far from out of the unemployment crisis.
What will it take to sustain, to move us from stabilization to more sustained growth? Because, the earlier focus was on what was called structural reforms, stabilizing the pipeline industries, the ports and the likes. But it seems as you attain successes there, new crises emerge. The water situation, which also has its own economic implications. The public finances and their implications in the form of austerity, that means a failure to employ in sectors where we could be employing more people, in terms of the teachers that we need, the doctors that we need, the nurses that we need. How do we then move from stabilization to growth in a context like that?
Well, I think if one look at the water crisis, but also the more general challenges that we face in logistics, is that we need to invest in infrastructure. Infrastructure is critical to lifting growth. So whether it's water infrastructure, whether it's roads, whether it is our rail infrastructure, ports, and so forth. And this is why the push for the budget is that the President announced also in the medium-term development plan, 1 trillion investment in infrastructure. We need to begin to see that, in the form of construction taking place. But the question about austerity is an important point. If one look at government investment over the last, say, since 2011, 2012, we have seen what's referred to as fiscal consolidation. And what we need to do is to move beyond an austerity budget, but ensure that we are able to invest in much needed infrastructure, but also in the sectors that we refer to. There's good movement in terms of investment in early childhood development, which is a critical point to also address child poverty, malnutrition, and hunger. But we do need to see the improvements in revenue collections, the improvements in growth to translate into a much more stimulatory impact on the economy. So we're looking forward to the budget next week. And as I say, we will have to have make sure that we're consistent on what we're doing, getting infrastructure right, the logistics, investment in SMMEs, investments in post-school education, and then of course, making sure that we provide opportunities through public employment.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time, ANC National Executive Committee member Phoebe Potgieter.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love, in all its forms, matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
20 minutes after 7, the application to place Tongaat Hewlett into provisional liquidation has crystallized a fear long simmering in the country's sugar sector. The financial distress of a cornerstone miller now threatening to cascade through the entire value chain. This is not, we are told, this is not simply a corporate restructuring story. It is a moment that could determine the future of thousands of growers, tens of thousands of rural jobs, and the economic stability of large parts of KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. Let's speak to Higgins Mdluli, chairperson of the SA Cane Growers. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. How did we get here, specifically as far as Tongaat Hewlett is concerned and its pivotal role in the South African sugar industry? What happened? How did we get here? What were the milestones and perhaps some of the signs we failed to pick up along the way?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your SAFM listeners. Yes, as you've just indicated on the introduction, we are, as the sugar industry, we are confronting what we are confronting is a crisis that is no longer recurrent now. It is structural, and rural communities, and they are already absorbing the shock. Obviously, the sugar industry is currently confronted by convergence of debilitating pressures threatening the long-term viability of domestic sugar production. It's not only the potential liquidation of Tongaat that is now a threat, and we are talking about also the uncertainty surrounding its milling operations. It has come a long way because of also unprecedented surge in imported sugar. And of course, the health promotion levy has the impact that has always been coming since it was introduced in 2018. That puts us where we are now. And if we were to look at Hewlett, the potential liquidation of Tongaat Hewlett, why it's got such a big impact. Tongaat is not a peripheral player. It operates critical milling assets in South Africa, including the only stand-alone white sugar refinery supplying food, retail, and beverage industry. And its 3 mills, it serves approximately 18,000 growers. The majority of those growers, of the total of 28,000 sugarcane farmers in the country. And it directly employs thousands of people in Mpumalanga and in KwaZulu-Natal. And that is where now why it has become such a big crisis, because you can imagine its supply chain is estimated of employing around 40,000 direct jobs.
Yeah.
And hundred thousands of livelihoods that are affected in KwaZulu-Natal.
So with that background and backdrop in mind, can the South African sugar industry survive a liquidation of Tongaat Hewlett that is not followed by, I don't know, someone taking over and resuscitating it?
No, we will not be able to survive. If milling operations are going to be disrupted, they will disturb grower payments, they will stall. Consequences will move beyond the farm gate. Growers cannot finance fertilizer, wages, and planting without certainty of payment. Then that will then cascade. It will have a lot of ripple effects. And you can also imagine sugarcane is a multi-year crop. Once land exits reproduction, it does not return easily. We are talking about that from painful recent experience with mill closures due to the health promotion levy. If a mill stops producing and it will stand empty, even for one season, the underlying assets and materials of the mill are vandalized and stripped. So effectively permanently closing that mill.
Yeah.
So that shows how much damage is going to happen around that milling area. So should growers and mills exit the industry around Tongaat Hewlett service areas, it will devastate areas where sugar is the primary economic anchor.
So how do we pull back then from the brink of the disaster that you paint?
We are looking for government to intervene. We as Akan growers, we appeal to government, especially the Department of Trade and Industry Commission, to enact measures that will ensure viable and long-term sector that protects rural jobs and livelihoods. By urgently enacting, you spoke about the surge of imported sugar earlier. We are requesting government to enact fair import tariff pricing, to also funding support to keep the mills open, and a policy environment that enables green industrialization, which will then take off some of the pressure through diversification.
Yeah.
And of course, Treasury can assist the local industry by scrapping the health promotion levy or the sugar tax.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning because of time. Thank you for your time. That's Higgins Mdluli, chairperson of SA Cane Growers.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
And the last story that we wanted to bring you in this rapid half hour is this. The Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, is set to visit the eKapa Minerals joint shaft in Kimberley this morning as desperate rescue efforts enter a third day following a devastating mud rush underground. The minister's oversight visit comes as 5 mine workers remain trapped nearly 890 meters below surface with no communication yet established and families anxiously awaiting word. Let's speak to Musipidi Sanane, the National Union of Mine Workers Kimberley Regional Secretary. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. The minister is set to visit. The families continue to be really in anguish, desperate anguish about the plight of their loved ones. Rescue operations continue. Can you describe in your own words what the situation is like at the eKapa Minerals joint shaft in terms of trying to get to these workers and trying to rescue them?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners. It's so difficult for one to can give a clarity as to what is happening. And the reason being, we are most of the time outside the mine with difficult interaction to can get access to see what is happening. However, we believe with the intervention and the visit of the minister, things could be better for us to can be able to access the mine. As for the families, they are so devastated, waiting to hear the conditions of their loved ones. We were told yesterday that the rescue teams, they are still busy trying to pump out a lot of water because it seems there is a lot of water. So after pumping this water, the next process will be to remove the mud rush because the mudslide, it comes with a lot of mud. So there is water, there is mud rush that should be removed. So it seems this will take some time, and it's so difficult for the family members because they don't know what to expect.
I think the key thing for all of us is, while at the same time concerned about the rescue operation and how quickly the rescuers can get to the workers and hoping that they get to them in time, I guess the questions about what happened and how it can be averted going forward will naturally come to the fore. How important is it that an investigation is launched into this incident? Naturally, it will be, but, in terms of how soon it is launched and how thoroughgoing it should be. What's your sense as the NUM?
NUM from the beginning up until now, Thulasizwe, we believe that this is high time that the regulator, which is the Department of Minerals and Petroleum Resources, they need to make sure that the investigation starts now. And it should not be an investigation only to establish what could have happened. It should be an investigation to make sure that this mine, is it necessary to have this mine? Is it necessary to have people working under this mine? Because of the life of this mine, this is one of the oldest mines in South Africa. So we believe that investigations that should start now, not even tomorrow, it should start now. And it should establish the way forward for their lives, because one life lost is one too many. So we need to make sure that whatever comes out of the investigation, it will make sure that there is no other incident in this particular mine.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Musipedi Sanane is the National Union of Mine Workers' Kimberley Regional Secretary. Let's go to Ann Musa on standby with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the panel at the Nkabinde inquiry will this morning start with the cross-examination of former Northwest Deputy Director for Public Prosecutions, Advocate Selo Mayema, after he concluded his evidence in chief. The house of the son of the late Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is under police lockdown this morning. This follows a shooting incident yesterday. A gardener was allegedly shot on the property. And the Muslim Judicial Council has condemned the fatal shooting of a Cape Town religious leader in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police say the 33-year-old Mulana had just left a mosque when he was approached and shot by unknown suspects. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Pretoria. First up, very busy around the university area. Traffic lights are down on Linwood Road at the junction with University Roads. That's all snarled up getting through there. Midrand, Olifantsfontein from Savannah Hills down towards the M1 highway. That's heavy. Couple of lights down at the N1 and at the Pretoria Main Road junction as well. Main Road, very heavy this morning from Lone Hill right the way down to Bryanston Drive. And just a reminder, the roadworks on the Mike 1 North going up towards Sandton have been lifted by the looks of things, but there's a backlog from Boyson's through to Corlett Drive this morning. Durban, no traffic lights. M7 at South Coast Road. That's all really snarled up getting through there. M13 busy but easing from Hillcrest down towards Kloof. Komashu Highway's heavy from Malindella down towards the N2. Still no traffic lights. And Inanda Road out of Newlands heavy to Parlock this morning. A stationary truck at the N2 is the problem there. Cape Town, Stickland area, LaBelle, Strand and the R300 North to off-ramp to Stickland. All of that traffic very heavy and very slow going. The M3 inbound from Constantia up towards Paradise Road is busy, and Jan Smuds Drive, heavy traffic around the Klipfontein junction in the heart of Athlone. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. I saw I don't know if it's a real picture and it's from Mamelodi Sundowns. Maybe it's not. I don't know. So I'm not committing to its authenticity. But the picture had, it was on Mamelodi Sundowns insignia. So, and it said, "Dear Kaizer Chiefs, we left our notes on how to beat Pirates in your dress." They said, "Thank you for letting us use your dressing room. We left the notes on how to beat Orlando Pirates." So you feel free to use them. Anyway, that's my long way of saying that the schedule continues to be grueling for Mamelodi Sundowns. Now focus is on the Nedbank Cup.
Yeah, Tulas. I don't know if that's how the mind games start with the likes of Masandawana. They've got a bit of what can I say? A busy schedule? Yeah, but I guess titles are won off the pitch as well when you see something like that on social media. But plenty for the weekend's action and plenty for Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso saying squad management will be key as they prepare for their Nedbank Cup last 16 clash against TS Galaxy tomorrow afternoon. The Brazilians are juggling 3 competitions and face a brutal run of 12 matches in just over a month, despite visible fatigue during their recent 2-1 win over Orlando Pirates. Cardoso insists the cramping the players are not unfit, but just managing their energy, which will be critical. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Let's go to the TS Galaxy coach. Adnan Beganovic has welcomed the lifting of the club's FIFA transfer ban, clearing the way for new signings ahead of their Nedbank clash with Sundowns. The Rockets were sanctioned in December, and that's following a contractual dispute. But with the issue now resolved, Beganovic says the club has reflected on the situation and the lessons.
But to spend necessary money to pay something what we don't need to pay, I think it's better to invest that money in things what we need in the club and maybe the youth academy in equipment or something else. Just don't throw money without reason.
Let's go elsewhere, where the former Nottingham Forest manager Anish Postecoglou has admitted he made a mistake taking the job. The Australian lasted just 39 days after losing 6 of 8 matches. He was speaking at a podcast where he said he rushed back into management following his Spurs exit and takes full responsibility. On to golf, and Thailand's Shanette Wanasan and Japan's Nasa Hateoka share the lead after the opening rounds of 65 at the Honda Ladies PGA Thailand. They sit 1 shot clear, while the world number 1 Gino Titicol is among a group at 5 under. Now, the Duzi Canoe Marathon is underway. Andy Burkett and Matthew Fenn edged ahead in the men's race, while Abby Soms and Robin Hrunink lead the women's field. The second leg runs today from Kuasimra to Inanda. Hope I got that right. But nevertheless, that's your Duzi Canoe update. We'll come back with more sport on the morning brief. I'm Zai Khan.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling. Ndauling, good morning. Let's start in this story to do with Kumba. Tell me about them
Yes.
highlighting progress with Transnet.
Yeah, so Kumba Iron Ore says progress at Transnet is helping operations, but full performance depends on clearing maintenance backlogs. CEO Mpumi Zigalala praised the collaboration between Transnet and the Ore Users Forum, noting improvements on the Sishen-Saldanha rail line, and that has boosted efficiency and allowed more ore to reach the port. Now, this comes alongside the company's full year earnings, where production and revenue growth was tepid, up 1% and 2% respectively. Earnings, however, managed to jump by double digits, up 18%. Now, that was mainly due to cost saving efforts and operational efficiencies. Total output reached over 208 million tons, with nearly 37 million tons sold, including stock from third parties. Zigalala said ongoing maintenance and collaboration will be key to sustaining these gains. Markets, however, weren't too convinced with Kumba's performance, mainly due to the downbeat iron ore price, with analysts flagging a challenging outlook in the medium term. Now, that saw the share price close 4% lower in yesterday's session.
And the next story, it's not you misspelling the name of this. It's what it's called, is it? It's not you trying to spell equities and
No, no.
it's Equitas. How do you pronounce it? Equitas.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
right on that. Equitas, they are in the property sector and mainly playing in the logistics side of property. And the fund is betting on increasing demand for logistics property as companies invest in supply chain infrastructure to sharpen competitiveness. Now, during the 2026 financial year, the group says it's deploying 900 million rands into development and acquisitions, with a focus on the R21 corridor through its joint venture with Tridefco. It also has broken ground on a billion rand facility for Tiger Brands, targeting a 9% yield. Moving ahead, Equitas plans to spend about 2 billion rands on new projects over the next 12 to 18 months. Equitas also has operations over in the UK, and the fund says it has sold DPD Burgess Hill asset and is retaining the DHL Leeds property pending a rent review, with proceeds earmarked for reinvestment locally. Now, as the outlook is rosy, Equitas expects to declare a dividend of 140 cents to 143 cents per share, up 5 to 7%. Now, for property funds, dividends are a key measure of performance as real investment trusts are structured to distribute the bulk of their rental income to shareholders, making income growth central to investor returns.
Lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Starting in Asia, Japan's Nikkei is in the red, and this despite inflation cooling below the Bank of Japan's target. Investors there say the print complicates the BOJ's rate hike path, with some traders cautious when it comes to making any new bets at this point. The negative sentiment also filtering through to the US, with futures sinking into the red. Traders on Wall Street are eyeing GDP figures and the PCE print, which is the Fed's preferred gauge for inflation. Both prints will be out later today. And then coming back home, easing precious metal prices, weighing on equities, with the ore share closing over 0.5% lower. And that also filtering through to the currency markets. We are seeing a weaker rand against major global currency pairs. The dollar in particular remains firm. And when looking at the dollar rand pair, it's sitting at 16.17. Looking at other currency pairs, the rand at 21.73 to the pound and at 19 to the euro. Oil in the meantime hitting a 6-month high on those US-Iran tensions. It's currently trading close to $71 a barrel this hour.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. Let's talk one more time just after 8:30.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love in all its forms matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3, beloved.
Using Scholar Transport comes with responsibilities. Every learner has a role to play in keeping themselves, their friends, and the driver safe. Board safely, enter the vehicle calmly, sit properly, and fasten your seatbelt at all times. Wait for a complete stop. Only enter or exit the vehicle once it has come to a full stop and move away from the road in an orderly and safe manner. Respect the driver. Do not distract the driver while the vehicle is in motion. The driver's full attention is needed to keep everyone safe. Good behavior saves lives. Your actions matter. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me go to your voice notes before I go to the calls. In fact, I want to start with the ones reacting to the conversations we've had about unemployment and what the ANC is saying about the beginnings of a turnaround in as far as the economy is concerned, but also a number of you wanting to weigh in on the situation with the imminent liquidation of Tongaat Hewlett.
Good morning, SAFM and to listeners. It's Selvan Governor from Durban. Just like to find out from the honourable guest, when the scandal was going on with Tongaat Hewlett, where was the Auditor General when the books were being checked? Couldn't the Auditor General pick up this scandal? Now the poor workers, the farmers, and it's a chain reaction that are all affected with this scandal.
Yeah, I hear you. I suppose the concept of auditors as opposed to Auditor General, because it not being a public institution, it is not audited by the Auditor General. Unless I missed it somewhere, no, it isn't. It isn't a public institution. So it would not have been the Auditor General. But I hear what you're saying, that where were the auditors when the books were deteriorating in the manner that they did? Because there's one thing of being in economic trouble because of the financial conditions, then you ask yourself about questions where it's about management of the books. And I don't have the full details. I must be upright about that. I don't have the full details of how it all unfolded to get to this point. All I know is that this has been a company in financial distress, with the result that it went into business rescue. And now, having tried the business rescue route, its BRPs, business rescue practitioners, are of the view that there are no prospects of rescuing it, and therefore are preparing for a liquidation. And that's all I know. So to the extent that you believe that there was something untoward with the books, you're absolutely right to ask about where the auditors were, not necessarily the Auditor General.
Chulas, Chris in Camperdown. The SA Sugar story exemplified three things. An industry that does not want to innovate, only speaking. When did they start speaking about by diversifying into production of biofuel and other products? Secondly, a government that only waits until it's at a break point before it intervenes. The same reaction was seen with the steel industry. And thirdly, the province that only still relies on primary production and does not want to innovate. And I think most provinces need to learn from this and start thinking ahead and not wait for crisis to happen.
How many times do we say that on this show, in this community? Acting and, taking the initiative before you are on the back foot, before you are now responding to a crisis that usually is almost fully fledged, if not fully fledged already. And now you are scrambling. How do we rescue this industry that has been flooded by that form of imports, and now it's dominated by this illicit product, etc. So that's what Chris is talking to. Innovation, and adaptation really for industry as well. The challenge goes both ways. The government, in terms of how we think about policies around these issues, but also at the same time talking to industry itself, innovating and adapting to changing market dynamics. Vusi in Viking, good morning. Let me take your call because you want to talk to this very issue of Tongaat Hewlett's.
Thokoza Mnguni.
Baba.
Kuyaphileka Mnguni.
Hayi kuyaphileka kunjani baba?
Thokoza Mnguni nesitshaba sonke. Mnguni, I just want to comment about the COSATU guy who commented about this Hewlett's saga. Mnguni, I was very much disappointed from that COSATU guy because instead of at least trying to come up with the solutions, maybe us as COSATU we are going to add 20% in order to help the government, to rescue these Hewlett's, because we are representing the employees there. But all he could say, Nguni, sounded like someone who wanted to politicize this matter. The only thing he said is the neoliberal companies, we know, is their strategy, Nguni. Nguni, indlu iyasha. How do you come and say such things when you could just say we are engaging maybe the government and the other stakeholders here and there to see how best we can assist these companies. And a second matter, Mnguni, please, man. I hear there's an employment increase and stuff like decrease. Things are coming all right, but you call ANC.
Yeah.
No, we must call the GNU, Mnguni.
Yes.
Yes, because the ANC.
Why not the ANC?
Yes, and now when they come and say, hey, we are coming all right, it's like Bonamanje, they are politicizing the matter again.
But isn't that the point, that we bring the ANC so that you can then hold them to account to say, and did you hear that? That's why I started to say, many people will say, when I was engaging Phoebe Potgieter, that many people will say you are too quick to come and celebrate, and she addressed that matter. Now you can engage them, their assessment of how well their interventions are doing. You now have the opportunity to assess them.
Yes, Mnguni, thank you. But these people have proven time and again to be unaccountable. So far, I'm not telling you.
Vus, thank you. Your expressions are rich, by the way, Ngesindebele. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's Vusi in Viking. Let's take a traffic update. I'm back with more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes in a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Everyone coming through Dipcliffe busy again this morning, just sitting from the Golden Highway through the interchange onto the N12 East. The N1 North is then busy further up between Beyers Naudé and Ravonia, and a bit of a backlog as you approach Willie Mandela on the N1 South. Also, just some problems getting south on the N3 today with a breakdown before you get to Giluli, so that run past Edenvale is a little bit on the sluggish side. R21 still with a crash on your way to the airport. It's happened between the Bopsfontein and Benoni X. It's happened much earlier this morning, but it is still slow there. And a breakdown on the N12 coming out of Benoni just before Atlas Road, causing a backlog on your way towards Boksburg. Durban through to Pietermaritzburg, that big major delay that we had all night last night, that's all eased up. All the broken down trucks that were there between Ashburton and Market Road have been cleared, and the backlog has now got through. Stationary truck in Nunda Road coming out of Newlands down to Parlock, so extra delays towards the N2 highway. The N2 going north, a stationary vehicle just at Spaghetti Junction. So while on a Friday the N2 north should be easing, this morning it's not. It remains heavy from the M7 Bluff exit territory. Cape Town out around Brackenfell, Kraaifontein area, crash on the bottom of Botfontein Road going down to Bottleray that's been causing problems, and nearby Stickland is so badly backed up. Strand Road both ways, La Belle Road both ways, Bottleray inbound very slow. A breakdown on the M1 outbound at Plattekloof Road causing some delays if you're heading out towards the Belleville area, and very heavy on the N7, particularly southbound coming from Plattekloof Road down through to the off-ramp at Bosmansdam. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges. Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Eskom is upgrading old electricity meters with modern smart meters, giving you clarity, control, and confidence. With your new meter, you'll be able to see your usage in real time, giving you the power to manage your electricity with ease. Smart meters are accurate and help Eskom respond faster to issues. Please allow their authorized installers access to install your new meter. For more information, visit the Eskom website. Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Let me take a call from Mandla in Cape Town. Good morning to you, Mandla.
Thulas. My brother, in South Africa, we are led by people who cannot think. You know, that's why they say we have youth unemployment. My brother, we don't have youth unemployment in South Africa. We have a problem of unemployment. In South Africa, youth unemployment is not more than double of general unemployment. Look in China. In China, unemployment is 5%, but youth unemployment is at 15%. More than 3 times of the general unemployment. So in South Africa, we don't have a problem of youth unemployment. But my brother, a person with a PhD come to the radio and say, in South Africa, government must deal with a problem of youth unemployment. And I ask myself, how did this person get a PhD? But he cannot think. There's no critical thinking. You know, when I was in university the other day, there was a lecturer there, and he was there for a very short time. And I liked him because he encouraged critical thinking. You don't take what is in the textbook and apply it. You critique the textbook. You disagree with the textbook. That's what a university education should be all about. Then we will get real leaders that will solve our problem. You know, my brother, I hear government say, and these PhD people say government must give youth money to open up businesses. How can you give a person with no experience money to open a business? You know, if you want to fight or deal with the youth or with the problem of unemployment in South Africa, you should target people with experience. Yeah. People with 20 years experience in employment who are fully employed now. Gotcha. Encourage them to leave employment and start their businesses. That is how many countries who are well-developed do. People who start businesses are people who are well experienced, not youth and people with disabilities and women and all these red tapes that government is putting, which is the reason we've got unemployment.
All right.
You know, my brother.
Mandla, thank you.
We need people with critical thinking in South Africa.
All right,
you know,
Mandla, I've got to go. Mandla in Cape Town. I've heard you there, Mandla. I do need to give other people a chance. Mandla, challenging the whole notion of youth unemployment and saying that we have a problem of unemployment and laying into our leaders and others who give commentary on the situation and saying that, you know, you've got people with PhDs, but they simply cannot think. Innocent, I'm coming to you in a moment, but I want to take one or two takes that add to what Mandla was talking about, Mandla out in Cape Town.
Good morning, Thulas. For me, I don't believe in stats. Because if you remember, post office almost lose 5,000 something jobs. If you can go to Department of Labor, you will see State SA is not giving us the correct numbers. Thank you.
Morning, Thulas. Morning, Thulas. These people are lying. They are lying. They are liars. They must give us a list of those people that they say they are employed, because there is no such. There is no such. They're just lying. They're a bunch of liars. I'm sorry to say so, but they are a bunch of liars. There's no such.
I hear you. Thank you for that. Challenging the whole notion and the statistics as they are coming out. I did say a couple of days ago that we need to invite Stats SA to just do a 101 of how the quarterly labor force survey works, just to take everyone into their confidence. There's not been a serious challenge to the statistics. I do remember that there was that debate about how they measure unemployment. It broke out a couple of months ago, but I don't get the sense that there's been any serious challenge to the integrity of the work that they do. But they do need to come forward and explain how they do the quarterly labor force survey and what confidence they have that when they put out these figures and in their modeling, they're able to say, based on the quarterly labor force survey and where we source our data from, this is the picture of unemployment. But of course, there's always that disconnect between the official definition of unemployment, 31.4% or thereabouts at the moment, versus the extended version, definition of unemployment, which is far, far much higher, includes those discouraged work seekers. Let me speak to Innocent out in Durban. Good morning to you, Innocent.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call after trying for 3 weeks.
Hey, 3 weeks. I'm glad you made it through. I'm glad you finally made it through. You want to talk to me about a school that's falling apart?
Yeah, I'm based in Durban in Mlazi district. We've got a school which is 154 years old this year. The department comes and they look, the roof has fallen. During the holiday, the rain and the wind destroyed the whole admin. The principal doesn't have an office now, and the secretaries, they just moved to a corner where we found out they didn't fall, but it's so devastating. It's very bad. We tried the department. They say they come. They say this is an urgent matter, and they're gone. Now we are being told the department in Pretoria, they're working from home. The offices are closed. We don't know where to go, what to do. I'm one of the SGB members there.
What's the name of the school?
Bel Air Primary School.
Bel Air Primary School in
Umlazi district.
Umlazi. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the reason it's falling apart? What happened?
This school is very old, 154 years. The trusses are eaten up and finished.
I see.
The tiles, the old tiles are heavier than the new ones now because the trusses are eaten up. That the roof is falling, the ceilings. You can name it. All the outside is finished. The administration block as it is. The wall. Now the children come to do the assembly in the wall. What if anything happens? The government is waiting for the disaster, then they start rushing.
Sure. All right. Please stay on the line, Innocent. Let the team take your details. Let's see if there's anyone out in KwaZulu-Natal. It sounds to me as well, by the way, did I swallow my words, out in KwaZulu-Natal who will be willing to come forth and respond to that situation. It sounds to me that's a school that's part of the heritage of the province, isn't it? 150 years old. Why should it be allowed to disintegrate and fall apart in the manner that Innocent is describing? Let's go to Ann Musa, standing by with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, cross-examination of former Northwest Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, and Trump announces global commitments for Gaza reconstruction. Good morning. The panel at the Nkabinde inquiry will this morning start with a cross-examination of the former Northwest Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Selo Maema, after he concluded his evidence in chief. The inquiry is looking into the fitness of suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke, to hold office. Mayema was lead prosecutor in the racketeering case involving former KZN Hawkshead, Major General Johan Boysen, and the Cato Manor unit between 2008 and 2011. The unit was accused of murdering members of 2 taxi associations and placing false evidence at crime scenes. Yesterday, he told the inquiry that members of the unit were a law unto themselves and made the task of the prosecution team difficult.
Any person that had anything to do with Cato Manor would tell you that when they are involved in any matter where they are involved, anything can happen to them. So their lives would be at stake. Chairperson, remember we spoke about Bar. A witness, even when he came to consult us, was very scared of their lives.
Why were they scared of their lives?
Because of Cato Manor was the law unto themselves. We remember in one of the conversations it was said, I can make somebody disappear. So Cato Manor was very feared. They referred to them as Quito, and they were very scared of them.
Meanwhile, the cross-examination of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner General Cedric Sibiya will continue at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. Sibiya was grilled on his role and conduct in the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team yesterday. The PKTT was disbanded in December 2024 by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. In other news, the house of the son of the late Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is under police lockdown this morning. This follows a shooting incident yesterday. A gardener was allegedly shot on the property. Mugabe's son and another man have been arrested and charged with attempted murder. Late yesterday, police were still searching for the gun used in the shooting. Police divers were also brought onto the premises. Tabiso Khadebe is outside the property in Hyde Park.
A police nyala and a police vehicle are stationed at the gate of the Hyde Park property north of Johannesburg. Officers have secured the entrance with a barrier tape across the gate last night. It remains a mystery how the firearm allegedly used in the incident disappeared. Witnesses say they saw 2 vehicles leaving the premises after the shooting. The 23-year-old employee who works as a gardener at Mugabe's junior's house is in critical condition in hospital after being shot in the back.
The Muslim Judicial Council has condemned the fatal shooting of a Cape Town religious leader in Mitchell's Plain on the Cape Flats. Police say the 33-year-old Mulana had just left a mosque when he was approached and shot by unknown suspects. 2 other men were also wounded and were taken to hospital. The motive for the attack remains unclear and no arrests have been made as yet. The MJC has called for a swift and thorough investigation. The spokesperson, Sheikh Rihad Fattar.
The Muslim Judicial Council, the Muslim community, the community in general, we are shocked. We are grieved by the fatal shooting of Maulana Mustaqim Wanza and the shooting and injury of Maulana Junaid Souls. After the Tarawih Salah, they are on their way home from the masjid and this heinous act was committed. There is no respect shown to the month of Ramadan, no respect for coming from a sacred space.
Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe will visit the Ikapa mine in Kimberley in the Northern Cape today. 5 mine workers remain trapped underground following a mudslide incident on Tuesday. Mining operations have been suspended as efforts to rescue the workers continue. The Minerals Council South Africa has sent 2 experts to the mine to help support management and affected families. Last night, community members held a candlelight prayer at the mine. And finally, President Donald Trump says the U.S. will provide $10 billion for the reconstruction of Gaza. He made the announcement at the inaugural meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington. Other members, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE, have pledged to provide $7 billion. Washington's major Western democratic allies, including the UK, Canada, France and Germany, have declined to join the board. Recapping the top story, the panel at the Nkabinde inquiry will this morning start with the cross-examination of former Northwest Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Selo Mahema, after he concluded his evidence in chief. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In the month of secret admirers, it's no secret that Outsurance could save you money on your car insurance. Like 32-year-old Parushka, who saves a whopping 729 Rand on her 2020 Haval H2. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headline, it's cricket. Selection headache for the Proteas ahead of Sunday's Super 8 blockbuster. And in rugby, JP Putterson, he backs youth and physicality as the Sharks. They look to flip the script against the Lions at Ellis Park. We'll have details around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A couple of issues that we're dealing with eastern side of Joburg, so Ekurhuleni region. One is the earlier crash on the R21 South after Bobsfontein Road. That's still slow on your way to the airport. Also a breakdown on the N12 before Atlas Road, queues back into Benoni, and a breakdown on the N3 South going down towards Galulis, causing delays through the Edenvale area. Durban, the N2 North, staying heavy for this time on a Friday. It's a breakdown of Spaghetti Junction on top of the roadwork, so from the M7, Bluff exit all the way through Westwood Mall. It's really heavy. Stationary truck still with us on Inanda Road, so leaving Newlands down towards Parlock, and the N2 stays badly backed up as well. Cape Town crash on Plattercliff Road at the N7 highway, so some delays coming across from De Crendel Circle area. Also the N2 inbound, fairly busy this morning between Robert Sobukwe and Hospital Bend. If you're on the M3 coming in from Newlands, Wynberg Hill, all the way up to Hospital Bend, jam-packed, and a lot of traffic again this morning through Rondebosch, Claremont and Newlands, just multiple routes jammed up in that area. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on this Friday. Let me read your messages quickly. We do have quite a bit to get through in this half hour. I'll start with one from Tulani Dasa. Tulani Dasa says the ANC must hang its head in shame for celebrating the latest labor statistics as if they represent progress, while a staggering 12.4 million South Africans remain without jobs. This is not a victory. It is a national crisis that exposes the failure of empty rhetoric and broken promises about job creation. For years, the ANC and Cyril Ramaphosa have told our people that they will create millions of jobs that are coming. That's Tulani Dasa with that message. TG says, this problem regarding Tongat Hewlett's is dying. It's dying because of cheap imports from China, Pakistan, Bangladesh and India, and even across neighboring states. And this is the real problem. And the same COSATU supports countries like China and coming with slogans, it's not here or there, is neither here nor there. And South Africa should put the interests of local players in all industries first. And this is a bloodbath, and many are going to follow, says TG. Then someone else in the conversation about how the quarterly labor force survey works, someone else really demonstrates that we need to prioritize this conversation with the statistician general, Risenga Maluleke. Sello says, for example, if I resign from a job and move on to a new job, do I count as those who were employed in this quarter, says Sello. So that just gives you an example of the kind of conversations we should be having about the quarterly labor force survey. And then lastly, let me read this message. This person says, "Oh, how I like your previous caller, Mandla from Cape Town. He is spot on. You can't run away from the truth, but most people don't want to hear the truth." All right, let's keep the conversation going. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief on this Friday.
This February, love the truth, no matter how unsettling it is. They were called accidents, a slip, a fall, a tragic mistake. But what if they weren't? Fatal fall, murder or accident investigates suspicious deaths from balconies, staircases and cliffs, where one question refuses to go away. Did someone push them? Through forensic science and haunting testimony, the truth is uncovered. Fatal fall, murder or accident. Tuesdays 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you are not just buying a plan, you are also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover as well as a transport, grocery and unveiling benefit. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It's coming up to 14 minutes after 8. Parliament has been told that the country's film and television production incentive is in crisis, with a funding backlog and policy uncertainty threatening thousands of jobs across the sector. The Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, DTIC, says it's seeking urgent interim funding to clear outstanding payments after a 2 billion rand contingent liability built up during the COVID period and years of declining allocations. Lawmakers have sharply criticized the department's lack of responsiveness and warned that uncertainty around incentives is undermining investor confidence in a people-intensive industry already under strain. Let's speak to Mzwandile Masina. He is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. In a way, you were thrust into the center of this storm around the collapse of the incentive program of the film and television and production incentive program, in that you had the producers and other industry players coming to you to lay out their grievances. Now you've heard from the department. What's your sense? Where is the system broken?
No, thank you very much. Long time, my brother.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. I think that we are happy that we've been able, especially after the 28th of January, when the industry marched to Parliament, to urgently respond to them by ensuring that we facilitate a meaningful dialogue between the industry and the department, as you correctly put it, that some things went wrong somewhere around 2020, 2021, where projects that were approved were subsequently revoked, and that created a crisis for the industry, which has resulted in threats of jobs losses, as well as the industry collapsing, and disinvestment from foreign filmmakers. So we were concerned about that, looking at the fact that this is one industry that accommodates unskilled, semi-skilled professionals and otherwise. So we thought that we cannot just sit and wait, so we should facilitate this meaningful dialogue so that we can look for the solution. And we're confident, having had both sides, that a solution is possible, because the industry as well as the TTIC had some proposals, even though there are some misalignments.
Mhm.
We have since requested that they, because as an oversight board, we cannot direct the department. We have since requested them to sit down so that they can find a solution, and we are confident that a
Sure.
solution will be found, having listened to both sides.
We'll get to the solutions, and I saw that you have a couple of those that you have in mind. But before we get there, I do need to ask you, are you not guilty as parliamentarians and those who exercise oversight over this department and scrutinize budgets line by line of having fallen asleep at the wheel? I mean, how did we get to a point where the incentive budget was cut by something in the region of 136 million rand in 2023-2024, and there were absolutely no allocations whatsoever in 2024-2025? Where were you as parliamentarians to be asking the tough questions before the industry asked the tough questions of you?
Look, without sounding defensive, you know that the term of office only started in June, July 2024. Our colleagues who were there, these are the questions that we have asked, and we've looked into their report. Seemingly, there wasn't much that was done, which is a problem. Because as an oversight body, it's important that we always look into those issues and ask critical questions. And I think you're correct. So there was some lapses there because even in 2020, 2021, whatever happened should not have occurred because, you can't just willy-nilly change the rules of engagement in the middle of a game. That's why we identify that this is a matter that we must treat with urgency and make sure that as a department, as a portfolio committee, we interact and we engage so that a solution is found.
Yeah. So part of what the department told you was this concern about contingent liabilities related to these schemes and these incentives, and that they are working through all of it. But at the same time, there's talk about urgent interim funding. Where does it come from? What is your best thinking about how to move this process forward?
Look, they've in their presentation as a department, they've demonstrated that of the 2.1 billion contingency liability, they've managed to take it down to about 463 million, if I'm correct. And they were proposing that over the next 2 years, if they don't adjudicate over projects, they would have dealt with the things, and we disagreed with them in terms of that approach to say that, look, you can't further, not process the application. Instead, let's look at alternative sources of funding. We made some few proposals, including the department going specifically to the National Treasury to plead the case for this specific industry, but also to look at other sources. As you know, that the department has just launched now the Transformation Fund, which has concluded a deal with Afrexim Bank, and the lottery continues to fund some of the projects that are not necessarily related to economic growth and development. So we said that let them go and look around and find a solution so that we can deal with this matter and they can process the applications that are before them. So we have been assured by the minister that we'll do that. And secondly, we also did say that we're recommending that an investigation must take place as to what happened in terms of maladministration, because we suspect that somebody somewhere dropped the ball and there were no consequences. And we have been assured that actions are going to be taken by the department so that there's consequence management. And thirdly, we agreed that there has been a sluggish communication between the industry and the department, and there was an agreement that there has to be an ongoing engagement so that this problem is solved. So we're quite comfortable, and we will be ensuring that on a quarterly basis, we put our eyes in terms of this industry and to ensure that we can actually ensure that this industry is protected.
Yeah. Lastly, let me ask you, are we guilty, and I say we in the sense of those who lead the country, decision makers, of failing to appreciate the cultural and creative industries for the value that they add to our economy? Recent figures that came out speak to those industries and their contribution to the GDP. Are we guilty of viewing them as peripheral, as pursuits that people undertake, but not really viewing them as part of the economy. The figures, for example, given by the Independent Producers Organization says for every R1 invested in this sector, R5 is generated in economic activity. Have we thus far failed to have an appreciation of that translates in how we prioritize budgets, how we hold people accountable for failure to do that prioritization?
Look, that's why, for instance, there was a proposal from the department that the incentive administration for this sector be taken to sports, arts and culture through their agencies. We refused. We said that this is a very important for the purposes of the same information we are raising. We refused that they should pass the bulk. We said that the department that is responsible as an engine for economic development in South Africa, we have to be content with this industry and to ensure that we can resolve the challenges that are there. We can't pass the bulk because there are challenges in this specific sector. So I wouldn't say that entirely that we are guilty of having ignored this industry or assume that it's just peripheral. There was a consensus in the meeting that indeed the incentive administration will remain within the TTIC, and the problems that are facing the industry will have to be resolved collectively, working together with this sector.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Mzwandile Masina, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition.
Get Spar Super Savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Like 2-liter Sparletta, Twist or Iron Brew, any two for 28. Save R8. Or 200-gram Baker's Blue Label Mori Biscuits, any two for 32. Save R12. Now that's super savings. Prices valid from 9 till 22 February. While stocks last, only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges. Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
You are listening to The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
24 minutes after 8. This is a bit of a heavy story. It really is. 1 year after the brutal murders of Pretoria-based journalist Sibusiso Aserindlovu and his partner Zodwa Mdluli, the African Media and Communications Forum, AMCF, has condemned repeated court delays in the case and called for urgent intervention to prevent further setbacks. The matter involving the 5 men accused has been postponed at least 14 times in the KwaMhlanga Magistrates Court. Let's speak to Elijah Mhlanga, Chairperson of the African Media and Communications Forum. Good morning to you and thank you for your time, Elijah. We will get into the quest for justice. Just your own reflections. A year since the discovery of the mortal remains of Sibusiso Aserindlovu and Zodwa Mdluli, and also just the whole process that led up to that discovery. What are your reflections on the journey traversed in trying to make sense of this senseless killing?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Thanks so much for this opportunity. Well, it's been a long year. I mean, when we were approaching the 18th of February, we were just talking among colleagues, just reflecting on the life and times of Aserindlovu, who left us in a very difficult and gruesome way. As we'll recall that his body was discovered almost 2.5 months after they disappeared on the 18th of February in 2025. We went searching for them, and we worked with the police. It was a very, very difficult period because they simply disappeared from the from public view, and we didn't know where they were. But we worked with the investigating officers from the SAPS and private investigators to try establish what had happened until that gruesome finding in the first week of May 2025. So it's been a difficult year, mostly for the families as well, because they've been going through a lot since that time.
So we know that 5 men have been arrested in connection with the killing. But what does the quest for justice look like for the family? You mentioned the family, their anguish, firstly, during the time when the two had disappeared and there was no clear information of what had become of their plight, and now the wait for justice.
Yeah, it's been a long wait. Remember the arrests were made in the first week of May last year. Up until today, there hasn't been much of a progress. There was a time when we thought the matter was going to be transferred to the High Court. That has not happened. Instead, every time we go to court, it's a postponement after another for one reason or the other, whether they are applying for bail and then they withdraw. Then they try apply for it again and then they withdraw. Sometimes it's other technical issues that have got to do with the docket and the investigations and all of those things. So it's painful, more so for the family, because the mother does not have much to go with, So it's a very difficult situation. We've had to support them throughout that time as they go to court and back, and having to make them understand sometimes what is happening, because we need to be a liaison between the families as well as the investigations team.
And I know that there's a great deal of work being done to ensure that the legacy of Sibusiso Asere-Ndlovu is not lost because of the role that he played, particularly in community media. Tell me about what's been happening around that bit of work.
Well, we did make a promise last year at the funeral service that we're going to keep his memory alive. So we have been investigating options that would help us to memorialize him. We've been able to enter into an agreement with the tertiary institution for us to be able to create a bursary fund that would support young people who want to enter into journalism. The technicalities of that are still being finalized, and we'll unveil the details very soon. But we are going to be able to do that, of course, with the support of the family, because it's the name of their son, which is going to be used. But we're glad that we have a very good relationship with the family and that they understand what we're trying to do. So as colleagues, as the profession in media and communication, representing journalists and communicators, we feel it's something that we really need to do so that we shine a spotlight on the role of journalists, especially those that also have a focus on community development. So we need to carry on with this, but we're going to be asking others to support us as well in this quest to make sure that we develop young journalists.
Yeah. Elijah, thank you for that. That's Elijah Mhlanga, chairperson of the African Media and Communications Forum, speaking to us a year, the commemoration of a year to the day of the disappearance of Sibusiso Asere-Ndlovu and his partner Zodwa Mdluli. You'll remember that their remains were then discovered sometime in May, I think around the 8th of May last year, after a search that had caused a great deal of anguish within the profession, but also among the families of the two. Brings us to 8:30. Let's go to N Musa, standing by with the latest news.
Thanks, Thulas. Good morning. In the headlines, Zimbabwe's ruling party, ZANU-PF, says it's awaiting an official statement from South African authorities regarding the arrest of its late president, Robert Mugabe's son, at his Hyde Park home in Johannesburg. The panel at the Ngabinde inquiry will this morning start with a cross-examination of Northwest Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Selo Mayema, after he concluded his evidence in chief. The inquiry is looking into the fitness of suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Andrew Chauke, to hold office. And President Donald Trump says the U.S. will provide $10 billion for the reconstruction of Gaza. He made the announcement at the inaugural meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Definitely an easy Friday across Gauteng. Volumes on the lower side this morning. A lot easier than Monday through to Thursday. Highways are basically open and flowing, with the exception of the M1 North. Malabong way up to Rivonia is quite slow, and then going southbound down to Willie Mandela, that's quite slow as well. There are some delays if you come in from Soweto using the N17, just down towards Nasrec. That looks a little bit slow this morning. It was an crashing there. Durban, the M2 North, the breakdown at Spaghetti Junction, that's been cleared. The traffic remains heavy coming up from the M7 for this time of day on a Friday, but has been cleared. Just a backlog into those roadworks. Further up, the M2 has a breakdown between Kwamashu and Gateway, so quite a heavy backlog on your way in towards that Umhlanga area as well. Cape Town this morning, a lot of pressure around the Belmont Road through Rondebosch. That's coming from Campground Road across to the main road, very slow. The M3 inbound towards UCT remains busy, and the M5 queuing from around about Crombourne Road up towards a busy N2 for a turn into Hospital Bends. Also, don't forget Stickland, very heavy out that side. A lot of roadworks going on. LaBelle, Strand Road and Bottler Ray in that Stickland area, all badly backed up. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning. Let's talk about the selection headache for the Proteas. And you're saying this comes ahead of Sunday's Super 8 blockbuster against India.
Yeah, Thulas, good problems to have, eh? If you're
It's
in
a good problem, yeah.
It's a good problem. But listen, this is going to be a proper chess move because you've got Bosch, he's going to bring the thunder, and Linda's going to bring the mystery. And against India, I think you're going to need a bit of both. But yeah, Proteas facing a selection headache ahead of their Super 8 clash against India. It's going to be an exciting one come Sunday from 3:30. Corbin Bosch, George Linder are the two selection picks. It's Corbin Bosch with pace versus George Linder's spin, and Bosch has impressed with the ball, including a match-winning 3 for 12 against the UAE, and could benefit from the dew under lights. But it's Linder's left arm spin and lower order power which remain tempting against India, who are showing some vulnerability when it comes to spin, and that decision could shape South Africa's biggest test yet come Sunday. Staying with cricket, Zimbabwe have continued their fairy tale run at the ICC T20 World Cup. They beat Sri Lanka by 6 wickets in Colombo to finish the group unbeaten. Zimbabwe now head into the Super 8 stage brimming with confidence. Soccer news, the Amazulu head coach Arthur Zwane insists his side will approach their Nedbank Cup last 16 clash against Richards Bay FC with full intensity when the two KwaZulu-Natal rivals meet this evening. The derby will take place at the Umhlatuze Sports Ground and is scheduled for 7 p.m. Some rugby, JP Peterson says it's not about his new title as the permanent Sharks head coach. It's about winning at Ellis Park. The Durban side faced the Lions in a crucial URC derby on Saturday, looking to reverse their recent struggles in Johannesburg. With several Springboks rested, Peterson will test the depth squad, including the number 8 Thomas Dyer. The Sharks want a stronger start this time after a costly slow opening against the Lions earlier this season. And Formula One, the world champion Lando Norris says he's amused by the reaction to his comments that the new 2026 cars are fun to drive. That's after Max Verstappen described them as Formula E on steroids and not enjoyable. The contrasting views have sparked debate ahead of the new season. And finally, Cape Town has sold out the inaugural EFC Knox Legacy Series at Grand West on the 26th of February, marking the promotion's return to the mother city for the first time in nearly 8 years. Former UFC champion Dricus du Plessis, He's central to the launch of the series, which headlines AFC middleweight champion Luke Michael defending his title. The event will be broadcasted globally, signaling a major moment for African MMA. That's your morning brief sport. We'll wrap it up some more with John Helica. That's around 12:30. I'm Sai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Dowling, good morning to you once again. So to the extent that the lockdown and COVID remained a baseline, for various industries, City
Yes.
Lodge, in that tourism hospitality space, can safely say that they've moved past that now.
You're absolutely right, Thulas. And we see this in some of the numbers. City Lodge reporting its highest occupancy levels since COVID-19 as travel demand and economic activity improved in the 6 months to December. The group says it benefited mostly from the G20 summit last year, but there are concerns from analysts on whether that can be repeated. Zooming in on those earnings, occupancy levels rose to 61.6%, while revenue increased 12% to just over 1 billion rands. However, profits were flat. CEO Andrew Vidiger was happy with the performance, saying average room rates increased 4%, outpacing inflation and lifting room revenue by 10%. Refurbished hotels and revamped in-house dining concepts supported a 17% rise in food and beverage sales. Performance gains were broad-based across the country, with Gauteng, KZN, and the Eastern Cape among the stronger regions. Operations in Mozambique and Namibia also exceeded expectations.
So, in Dowling, a few years ago, during the lockdown and COVID and the difficult times, there was a song that said, Oban Lava Bantu. Who are these people? Who are these people you're telling me about?
I can already see where this is going.
Oban Lava Bantu, Dowling. Who's Araxi? Who's Pay At? Oban Lava Bantu.
So, I'm actually very shocked that you don't know Pay At. But anyway, let's start with Araxi. So these are players within the fintech space. Araxi is a fintech company listed on the JSE. They just changed their name. It was known as Capital Appreciation, but now they go by the name Araxi. I don't know if you know a platform called Laybuy. They own the platform called Laybuy that allows consumers to do
Yes,
Laybuy
pay now, buy now, pay later.
Sort of something like that. Yes, something like that. So they're also in that space, and we are seeing M&A activity picking up in the fintech sector. Araxi Group, previously known, and I said, as Capital Appreciation, announcing a billion rand deal to acquire a controlling stake in Pay At Group. All right, explaining what Pay At is. Né? They
Yes.
provide payment processing and collection services for businesses and public sector clients. It operates thousands of retailer locations and mobile point of sale devices, enabling customers to pay for services like pay TV, so something like DSTV, insurance, loans, municipal bills and vouchers. Like you'll also see the option when you're shopping online to use that Pay At service.
Mara, that's you. That's not me. That's what you do.
Clearly you don't shop online.
So therefore, no one can blame me, honestly.
You're not part of the broader South African, community that shops online. And that's why you don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So this transaction will be funded through 200 million rands in cash and 800 million rands in committed senior debt. It strengthens Araxi's push into banking and corporate clients while expanding its regional footprint. Pay At operates across more than 9,000 retail locations and 150,000 mobile point of sale devices, serving enterprises, SMEs, and public sector clients across Southern Africa. As I mentioned, Araxi already owns several fintech platforms, including digital lay-by provider Layup Technologies, giving it an established presence within consumer payments.
All right, Ndauling, wrap it up for us. How are we likely to end the week in the markets?
Yeah. Hey, local markets are in for a choppy start to as global sentiment remains downbeat. That risk-off mood is also filtering through to currencies, with the rand on the back foot this morning. It's at 16.17 to the dollar, 21.72 to the pound, and 18.98 to the euro. Over in commodities, oil is on track to close the week stronger as investors assess potential disruption in the market on the back of those US-Iran tensions. Crude currently trading at $71 a barrel, hitting a 6-month high. Then back to equities, stateside, futures turning green. Caution, however, still remains as traders assess the US-Iran tensions. Traders will also be eyeing GDP and PCE figures out later today. Lastly, in Asia, trade has been thin for the week as most of those markets have been closed on the back of the Chinese New Year holiday. Japanese markets, however, have been open. Stocks in the red, with investors on that front digesting the latest inflation print.
All right, Ntauling, thank you for that. Have yourself a great weekend. Ntauling Lechela has kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets.
The Blues are going all out for maximum points at Stamford Bridge.
Stevaus flipped it back to him. The Brazilian connection working nicely. João Pedro for two, and he's done it. The Blues Brazilians at the double here.
However, it is a must-win game for the Clarets to try to escape from the danger zone.
Deflected and in! Oh, Burnley lead! Shock lead for the Clarets. Bashir Humphries will claim it. It's got a deflection, and Burnley have got an early lead here.
This is the Premier League. Chelsea FC versus Burnley FC, the Saturday 21 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
What's Duff? Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You right, Savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, Savvy, this thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Duff. More than one.
Don't be Duff, be savvy. We Buy Cars. Geared for adventure, geared for you.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Futhi nje mina ngathi noma niyangathi ukuthi nakungangisuka nje ngasuka ngikhuluma isiSwati. Ningive kahle sengikhuluma isiSwati ngithi angisafuni nalesingisi sengiyayeka. Ngisakada ngeSiswati kuwo lo msakato lo watiwa ngokuthi SAFM 104 to 107. Right, why did I just do that? It's International Mother Tongue Celebration 2026, and it's proudly hosted by the Gcina Masiko Arts and Heritage Trust. On Saturday, tomorrow, the 21st of February, they will gather at the Storytelling Tree at the Bluff Showgrounds on Tara Road, and that is opposite the Shell Garage, and it starts at 11 until 3 p.m. It's global, this celebration of Mother Tongue, International Mother Tongue Day. This event forms part of the global commemoration of International Mother Language Day, a day dedicated to promoting linguistic diversity and preserving mother tongue languages across the world. Mage Gcina Mhlophe, good morning to you. She is the Executive Director of Gcina Masiko Arts and Heritage Trust.
Simelane.
Ninjani? Siyaphila Mage.
Siyaphila, siyathokoza.
Tell me all about it. This is happening at the Storytelling Tree itself with its own story to be told. How does it fit in with this International Mother Language Day and its commemoration?
Thank you. International Mother Language Day is celebrated on the 21st of February every year. Different people do it differently in different countries. But we as South Africans, we not only celebrate the languages that are spoken here in South Africa, but also we include sign language. We also include Braille, you know, the the important thing is that people who can hear but cannot see, they write and read in different ways, and we must learn and be sensitive to that. And also, why under the storytelling tree? This place has been iconic since 2019. We've been doing events even during COVID. We did social distancing under the tree. We know with
Yes.
the bright blue African skies looking down at us. And so much has happened under the storytelling tree. And the people that come to this place, there's no age restriction. It's people who are in senior primary schools, high schools, university. We've got people who are retired professors even who come to the storytelling tree. So there are just people who honor this space. It's a very humble space. It's the first place people gathered, whether is to sort out
Yes.
babakhulume nenkosi beze ukuthi zithini izinto ezidlumuzi.
Yes.
And also under a tree, people told stories. Under a tree, people put a blackboard. I don't know if you remember, people used to put a blackboard and teach under a tree when they didn't have enough classrooms.
Yes.
And also, some young people stole a first kiss under a tree, excuse me.
So what do you encourage? What then happens? Nasasihlangene under the tree. What forms of expression seem to come to the fore? And what's the mix and diversity of these people that come to participate and showcase their talents and abilities in their mother tongue?
Some people bring poetry in their mother tongue. Some people tell a story. Some people do a song. And some people tell me, dance is my mother tongue. I say, okay, show us your mother tongue. And so people show it in different ways. And this year also we're having guests coming who are attending an Environmental Filmmakers Congress. We've got a representative from Egypt. We've got somebody from Ethiopia. We've got somebody from Mozambique. I think we've got also Madagascar. And so the different countries, when they are physically here, and it coincides with the 21st of February, they come and join us under the tree. And so, and people who are living in Durban who have got their Tamil ancestry, they say, listen, I want to share a song in my mother tongue, Tamil, and Urdu, whatever language people speak, it matters that we hear these languages.
Yeah.
And also some people send us messages of support in their mother tongue, wherever they are coming from.
Yeah.
And so it is important for us to hear those languages, to celebrate, to honor these languages and be proud of them. You know, some of our languages are disappearing, going extinct.
Yes.
The African continent, especially because we've been following and using the languages of the colonizers.
Yeah.
And some people, especially younger mothers and fathers in South Africa, are willingly throwing their mother tongues out of the window. Buyi Setswana, buya English fela. Hayi akasithethe isiXhosa tu uthethe English qha.
Ngikhumbuza le ngoma kodwa yayithi ingane kaMalume ithi ayikwazi ukukhuluma, ikhuluma isilungu kuphela.
Ikhuluma isilungu kuphela. And akunamlungu ozothi mayisazi isiZulu athi I give up my English or my French or my Portuguese. I'm going to speak isiZulu. So we cannot afford to do that. We do these events in order to encourage people to see the value, the treasures hidden in each language.
Let's say a bit more about that. So much of our world is coded and navigated in English these days. And of course, you're right, this challenge that many of us, and I will say I'm one of those parents grappling with it, to say we are going to preserve our language even as proficiency in English in the schools and exposure to the English coded world increases. But at the same time, getting to know one another regionally in South Africa, so that Nankulma Siswati in the Western Cape, it's not seen as odd as what language are you speaking, getting to know one another. How important is that conversation for us as a country right now?
It is extremely important for us to get to know one another. And we are so good at saying you don't belong here, instead of realizing that we are more alike than we are different. When somebody speaks isiXhosa and another one speaks Siswati, there are so many common words, just these two languages, or Northern Sotho, or people who speak Setswana. There are so many. So there's so much connection that we can have with one another. It's about learning from each other. It's about us being curious. It's about embracing one another. One of the things that I encourage people when they say it's hard to learn another language, I say start with music. There are
This is
certain
so
songs
true.
that you love, and you are
Absolutely.
singing along. You know, when I was in Senegal, people are asking, Sondela Standwa,
Yes.
Sondela.
Yes.
And they ask me, okay, tell me, you're South African, what does it mean? They sing it perfectly.
Yes.
Sondela Standwa. They don't know what it means. I worked with Chioni Somaraire, the Mbira player from Zim. We traveled all over with Chioni's. Oh my goodness, did I love her music? Did I enjoy as a daughter of the African continent? But you should have seen people in Europe going crazy for Chioni Somaraire.
Yeah, Mamgcina
You know,
Mhlophe, you see
so
now
it's
you're
so
gonna get me in
important.
trouble. I need to get to the traffic because there's so much for you and I to talk about. Maybe we should sit under the storytelling tree and talk about
Simelane.
Thulasizwe
I'd like to invite you
Simelane.
under the storytelling tree. One of these days, I'll be so grateful
Thank you
to
so
invite
much.
you. Come and join us. Thank
You've
you for
blessed
having us.
All of the best for tomorrow. That's Dr. Gcina Mhlophe, Executive Director of Gcina Masiko Arts and Heritage Trust, part of this movement globally to celebrate our mother tongue, mother language. That day, of course, is marked across the world tomorrow.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, easy Friday across Gauteng Highway as well. Joburg looks good. No major problems. The M3 up through Bedford View. The N1 through Randburg looks okay. Little bit of a bottleneck. Top of the M1 N3 as you link onto the M1 Midrand through Buccleuch. That's a little bit sluggish, but the rest of the highways across the province are looking good. Durban still a backlog, unusual for this time on a Friday. Just lining up through Spaghetti Junction up towards Westwood Mall from about the Booth Road Bridge territory. It all gets a bit slow getting through there. Cape Town traffic, still plenty of volume on the N2 inbound from Langa through towards Hospital Bend. That stays heavy. Behind that, the M5 North from Rondebosch up towards the N2 connection. A little bit sluggish as well. And Stickland, very busy. Labelle, both ways through Stickland, between Strand and Bottleray. And then the Strand Road out through Stickland towards the R300. That's quite sluggish as well. Almost a standstill on Van Rieman's Pass this morning. The N3, just getting a lot of calls and messages about that. Looks like something's potentially broken down top of Van Rieman's, and that's backed everything up. Of course, the volumes are big, all arriving there at the same time after being stacked up overnight for hours down at Pietermaritzburg. So if you're just approaching Van Rieman's, that's quite heavy. And if you're driving Mpumalanga this weekend, just note there are about 3 sets of stop-go controls on Schoemanskloof between the Leidenburg exit and Montrose. If you don't fancy that, and it can be 20 minutes times 3, that's an hour, take the bottom section, Elands Valley section, go out through Waterfall Boven to Montrose that way instead. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
What's Duff? Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You right, Savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, Savvy, this thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Duff. More than one.
Don't be Dorf, be savvy. We Buy Cars, geared for adventure, geared for you.
Begin your Montreux Jazz Festival French Hook experience in crescendo and an elegant introduction to festival hospitality. Enjoy a dedicated entrance, buffet dining, a curated cash bar, and barista coffee, all in a relaxed alfresco setting. Day and weekend lounge passes are available via Ticketmaster, and if you want to host differently, these hospitality experiences are limited by design, created for those who value presence, connection, and craft. Curate your Montreux hospitality moment at mjfsa.com or contact hospitality@mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take a call from Eunice. Eunice, good morning. You want to pay tribute to the late Jesse Jackson. Hold on for me a second, Eunice. Something is not happening on my side. All right, I've got you now. Please pick up from where you left off.
Yeah, yes, Tulas. Not enough has been said about Jesse Jackson. He was truly a friend of South Africa, especially during the apartheid years, where he stood out for the oppressed in this country, asked for sanctions on South Africa. But not only that, he stood out for the downtrodden and the oppressed around the world. He stood out against the illegal blockade of Cuba. During the American invasion of Vietnam, Jesse Jackson stood out and he said, why is it the Americans are wasting money on the war in Vietnam? That money could have been used to uplift the poorer communities in America. Also, during the illegal invasion of Iraq, Jesse Jackson stood out and spoke out against that war. You know, and many people that might not be aware, Tulas, is that in the 70s already, Jesse Jackson stood out and spoke about the Palestinian cause there. And for that, you know, people had a different opinion of him and he was labeled. So the fact is, Jesse stood out for all the oppressed and the downtrodden around the world. And I think, you know, the oppressed in the world have lost a true soldier in that cause.
Absolutely.
And condolences to him, the Afro-American family in the USA, and I say we in this country also have lost a true friend, and we shouldn't forget in this country, Tulas, when people have a different opinion, whether the likes of Fidel Castro, Muammar Gaddafi, we know who stood with us in the dark days of apartheid, and all I say to Jesse Jackson, hamba kahle Jesse Jackson.
Oh, thank you for that, Eunice. That is beautiful. Thanks. And the beauty of it all is that people like Jesse Jackson, their legacies live on forever. I tell you now, 50 years from now, you can count on it. People will know and people will cite and quote people like Jesse Jackson. It is in the nature of these iconic players, you know, on the world stage that they leave a mark that far outlives them. So many, many decades later, people will still know what Jesse Jackson stood for, and they'll be able to quote some of the iconic phrases and expressions and points that these people have made in their lifetime. Remember the caller who called in earlier on about a school that's dilapidated in Umlazi, and it's an old school, 150 years old, and I said it's part of the heritage of the province. MEC Ivan Maya sending us a message and saying, I did try and call. I'm the MEC of Public Works and Infrastructure in KZN. We know who you are. And then going on to say, we'll engage with education on that school. Please help me get in touch with the caller. So that is the parent, part of the school governing body that was concerned about the state of deterioration of what is a heritage, really, a heritage school. So MEC Ivan Maya will be reaching out to Department of Education, but would like to get a hold of the parent that called in a bit earlier on. Let me take a few of your WhatsApp voice notes. I want to start with this one, simply because, you know, I had to remind myself that this is not Likwala Kwala FM, because once I started in Siswati,
Hi Thulasizwe, ngilaleli hlelo lakho ngiva Butvusi lokhuluma isiNdebele kamnanzi nami I enjoyed letisho latsebenzisako uthi indlu yasha akusiso nje isikhathi sekuthi siphe kukhomba lena le wabuye wathi kufana nekuthela mandi emhlanje welidada. I hope you explain to others because it is a day before the International Day of Mother Tongue, and to hear someone coming on the station aphawula ngelwimi lakhe was really beautiful.
It really has been. Mpumi, thank you so much. Ngiyabonga sis. And that's partly why I gave Vusi that compliment, because he has a way with words in isiNdebele, right? So the expression, and sometimes, by the way, Mpumi, we battle to translate these expressions accurately. Yeah, you can say it. You can say in Riyasha and say the house is on fire, or it's a burning platform, just talking to the urgency of the moment. But it's not the same. I don't know, for some reason, it never really captures it. And Vusi also spoke about it's like water off a duck's back. But I must say, though, those two actually, somehow, the English expression, I think it works just as well. Water off a duck's back. Anyway, having too much fun on this Friday. I've got to get out of here. The Talking Point is up next with Kete Motlatlana and the team standing by to take you through the next 3 hours. But that's only coming up after the news with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
I hold myself in Pomele. Shilo inni makanana.
Shiloini makanana, shigepisha majarmane. Shiloini makanana, Shiloini makanana, Shiloini makanana, shigepisha majarmane. Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, shigepisha majarmane. Shiloini makanana, Shiloini makanana, Shiloini makanana, shigepisha majarmane. Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, shigepisha majarmane. Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana, Ilesh makanana.
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in.
Their lives. Why were they scared of their lives?
Because of Ketomena was the law unto themselves. We remember in one of the conversations it was said, I can make somebody disappear. So Ketomena was very feared. They referred to them as Kito and they were very scared of them.
The State of the Province address for the Free State is set to be delivered today. Among the issues Premier Thulasizwe Simelane is expected to address is youth unemployment, revamping of roads and infrastructure, improving the economy and the safety of the people. However, some municipalities in the province have continued to regress and they are now under administration. The Premier explains.
Work to improve the state of municipalities is ongoing. We want to get the basics right and improve service delivery to our people. We have committed to improve the work of community development workers to better serve our communities. Discussions are underway with municipalities to establish reporting mechanisms for CDWs with the intention that they report to their respective municipalities. The interaction has started with Fezile Dabi District Municipality. Afube, Tokoloho, Kopanong, Machabe local municipalities, including Mangaung, still under Section 139 of the Constitution.
The South African Transport and Allied Workers Union has rejected the proposed 3.25% wage increase in the passenger sector. The offer, specifically for bus drivers, was tabled by the South African Road Bargaining Council. This comes after the union tabled their demands as the 2-year wage agreement is coming to an end with the employer. SATAU National spokesperson Amanda Chimise says if their demands are not met, they will be forced to go on strike and fight for their members.
We are demanding 6.5% increment for the first year and 7.5% in the second year of the agreement across the board. The employer continues to undermine and insulting bus drivers. They are only offering us 3.25%. We are rejecting this nonsense. We have declared a dispute and we have already started with all the necessary processes and procedures to embark on strike. We have been very patient with these bus companies and they always come to the negotiating table with nothing to offer at all. We understand the difficulties that the poor and the working class would be subjected to if we go on strike, as millions of South Africans are depending on these services daily. But as a union, we are left with no choice.
And finally, President Donald Trump says the U.S. will provide $10 billion for the reconstruction of Gaza. He made the announcement at the inaugural meeting of his Board of Peace in Washington. Other members, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE, have pledged to provide $7 billion. Washington's major Western democratic allies, including the UK, Canada, France and Germany, have declined to join the board. Recapping the top stories, Zimbabwe's ruling party ZANU-PF says it's awaiting an official statement from South African authorities regarding the arrest of its late president Robert Mugabe's son at his Hyde Park home in Johannesburg. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
This February, love lives on S3. From searching for love to racing across the world to stories that inspire, move and thrill. Whether it's drama, adventure, talent or truth, there's something to fall in love with every day. February on S3. Love what you watch. Only on S3. Open up.
In 2025, Liberty paid out 48 million rand in education cover claims to 755 families, meaning...
So many kids still went to school?
Correct.
Even when the dog ate their homework?
Yep.
What if it rained so hard that even fish needed raincoats?
School's still on.
But why?
Because there's no negotiation when it comes to protecting your child's tomorrow. Even if you become disabled or pass away, Liberty, in it with you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP and part of the Standard Bank Group. T's and C's, risks and limitations apply.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Now leave the SABC and see the tower block lit up, 27 stories of light. Move from Auckland Park into the shadow of the Hillbrow Post Office Tower.
This is the English service of the SABC. Here is the news, read by Patricia Carr. A member of the Planning Committee of the President's Council, Mr. Nick Tuernicht, has been appointed chairman of the Council's Community Relations Community.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
My grandma says the only two things in life that you worry about, whether you're healthy or whether you're sick. If you're healthy, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you're sick, you got two things to worry about. Whether you're going to get better, whether you're going to get worse. You get better, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you get worse, you got two things to worry about. Whether you're going to live, whether you're going to die. If you live, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you die, you got two things. Whether you're going to heaven, whether you're going to hell. If you go to heaven, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, you got two things to worry about. Original or extra crispy?
That's Mike Goodwin, comedian and speaker. Yeah. Hopefully the last option is not the only option you're left with, right? Because those last two options, hey, they're not really... None is better than the other, in my view. You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the show. Starting things off on a bit of a lighter note for this Friday morning. The week is up. Can you believe it? Where has the week gone? It's 10 after 9 o'clock. Welcome. To the Talking Point as we round up the week that has been. Coming up on the show today, we'll start off with the open line, as we always do, your National Roundtable. I'll be taking your calls, your comments, on any matters really that you want to put on the national round table. The number to use this morning, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. And on the WhatsApp voice note line, you can send your WhatsApp voice messages, your voice notes to 0614 104 107. That's 0614 104 107. And on X, of course, it's at SFM Radio. And the hashtag is hashtag SAFM Talking Point. So those are the ways in which you can get in touch with us. Quite a number of stories, right, developing. I think important stories that are unfolding that we'll keep tabs on through the news desk. I see we still have a lot of live coverage coming out of Hyde Park following that shooting yesterday, right? The shooting of a gardener by the son of the former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. So that's really been an interesting one to watch developments on. But I think the important story of the week remains the evidence that the suspended Deputy Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, is giving before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. It's now day 3 for him. It's going to be day 3 for him before that particular commission. And I think that we're really seeing things begin to heat up in as far as the evidence that he is bringing before that commission. Started off yesterday towards the afternoon. I think that as he continues in that witness stand, I don't expect that things are going to get easier for him. The questions he's going to face from the commissioners are going to get tougher. So we'll also be taking you then to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry at 9:30 as soon as it gets underway. Yeah, and rescue operations in Ekapa Mine are continuing, in the Northern Cape. The disaster hit that particular mine 3 days ago as well. And one certainly hopes that we're not going to have another Lily Mine situation, right? Because it seems that there were mudslides that contributed, right, to the caving in of that particular shaft. Efforts are underway to try and recover the personnel or the miners that are trapped in that particular rescue situation. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on that as well. But before we go any further, a reminder of the number to dial to reach our studio line this morning. The number is 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. I think I also want to talk about the fact that we've noted the signal issues that many of you have been alerting us to. Please, if they continue, send messages on WhatsApp. Your messages yesterday were incredibly helpful in helping us identify which parts of the country have actually been affected. So if you continue to experience transmission issues, do send us a WhatsApp message and let us know which part of the country you are in, most importantly, so that we're able to communicate with the relevant technicians to have the matter resolved. Okay, on that note then, let's take a quick break and I'm back with your open line.
This February, fall in love with a blockbuster that defined a generation. Courage, survival, rebellion. The world of Panem returns. Every moment, every battle, every choice. Settle in for the ultimate movie night with The Hunger Games. Back on your screen where it belongs. The Hunger Games, Sundays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
All Scholar Transport operators are required to comply with the following mandatory requirements. All required licenses and certificates must be renewed annually for minibus taxis and biannually for buses in accordance with applicable regulations. Overloaded, unroadworthy, or unlicensed vehicles will be impounded without exception. Every vehicle must be equipped with an appropriate and fully stocked first aid kit at all times. Routine safety inspections are compulsory for all vehicles providing Scholar Transport services. Compliance Compliance with these requirements is non-negotiable and is enforced to safeguard the lives of learners and all road users. Issued by the National Department of Transport.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Center for Social Justice at Stellenbosch University, invites you to attend the 7th Annual Social Justice Lecture in commemoration of the World Day of Social Justice on the 20th of February 2026. The 2026 Social Justice Lecture will be delivered by the Right Honourable Baroness Valerie Amos, LGCHPC, Master of University College Oxford, and former Director of SOAS, the University of London, under the theme Illusions of Stability, delivering social justice in a period of polarization and global instability. The lecture will take place at the Baxter Theatre in Rondebosch, Cape Town from 5 p.m. Get your free tickets from Quicket. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, this morning, let me start in the Western Cape in Rosebank. Yanga, good morning to you.
Hi, yes, Katie.
Yanga, what do you want to speak about?
I want to speak about the Nkabinde inquiry. Yeah, by the way, Katie, I'm looking forward for the social justice lecture this afternoon. I'm gonna be there. I have my ticket.
Oh,
so,
fantastic! Fantastic.
Yeah,
we look forward to seeing you.